Chapter 35. Craggy boulders crisscrossed the mountain range. Bold and vigorous pines stood proudly on the loose soil between the boulders, causing this endless mountain range to look like a winding dragon entrenched in the Seven Stars forest. Due to the heavy rain that had just fallen, the withered trees had already sprouted purplish-red fungus, emitting a strange fragrance. Beneath the boulders, two wandering mercenaries in tattered armor carried a sword and a blade as they walked with all their might. They were called Wang Bao and Lu Shan, wandering mercenaries at the border of Cathaya City. They often accepted missions to kill in the taverns, and even when business was slow, they would often kill and rob. These were wandering mercenaries, a bunch of madmen who were not bound by the laws of the empire. When the first founding emperor founded the empire, in order to preserve the martial spirit of the empire, he had decreed that anyone who took off their martial attire and put on a grey robe could become a wandering mercenary. Wandering mercenaries were not bound by the laws of the empire, but they were allowed to be hunted down and have a bounty placed on them. Thus, killing became the norm, creating a world where the strong preyed on the weak. But it was also because of this that the people of the empire worshipped martial arts, and the Templar Church never lacked warriors who could serve as generals. To the north of the empire's territory was the vast northern desert, inhabited by barbaric herdsmen. To the south were the barbarians who lived in the wild forests. Neither was easy to deal with, but these races were willing to submit to the Qin Empire. The biggest reason for this was the empire's martial spirit, and the Templar Church never lacked warriors to serve as generals. Wang Bao held his long sword under his armpit and slowly dragged it. He took out a piece of paper from his bosom. It was a bounty notice. He frowned. Did we lose him? Otherwise, why haven't we found this Lin Muyu kid after 3 days? Lu Shun shook his head. There's no way we lost him. My Shiba Inu's sense of smell is unparalleled. We'll catch up very soon. Wang Bao couldn't help but sneer. That Shiba Inu of yours is just a 10th grade wild dog. How dare you say it's unparalleled? Aren't you afraid people will laugh their heads off? Let's go. If we can really find Lin Muyu and kill him, the two of us won't have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of our lives. 100,000 golden grin coins is enough for us to buy a big house in the empire and 20 of her concubines. We can have fun every night. Lu Shun sneered but did not say anything. Right at this moment, a burst of violent footsteps came from behind. A person carrying a long saber rushed over. His voice was abnormally loud as he shouted, "Hey, the two of you, stop!" Wang Bao and Lu Shun immediately stopped in their tracks. Looking at the newcomer, they were secretly shocked. They had already lost to the opponent in terms of momentum. The opponent was carrying a long saber that weighed at least 100 pounds, and his strength was completely above the two of them. Have you seen this kid? The newcomer took out the same bounty notice. Wang Bao narrowed his eyes and smiled. I didn't see it. This brother is using a great broadsword. Are you Guan Yang, one of the legendary 7 martial saints? Guan Yang smiled. It's rare that you recognize me. Are you here to kill Lin Muyu as well? Yes. Wang Bao laughed and said, it's not far now. This Lin Muyu is right in front of us. He could kill Hua Wan and Hua Tian with a broken sword, which shows how powerful he is. Since we are all here to kill him, why don't we get a helper, and work together? Guan Yang nodded. That's good. One more person means one more person to look after. Wang Bao smiled, but he did not notice the killing intent that flashed past the corner of Guan Yang's mouth. Then please lead the way. Okay. Just as Wang Bao turned around, he suddenly felt a burning sensation on his back, followed by a heart-wrenching pain in his chest. Looking down, he saw a flame slowly piercing through his armor, and then a blade piercing through his heart. He did not even have time to scream before he fell to the ground. Bastard, how dare you sneak attack us? Lu Shun was furious. His long sword had already pierced towards Guan Yang's armpit like a snake. You're courting death. Guanyang was extremely fast. He swung his long sword with Wang Bao's body, and with a dang sound, the hilt shook off Lu Shun's long sword. Then he rushed forward and kicked Lu Shun several steps back. Dragging the long sword behind him, Guanyang raised his left fist covered in flames and punched Lu Shun's chest. Puchi! Blood splattered. The flaming fist penetrated Lu Shun's chest, and the flames instantly charred Lu Shun's internal organs. Guanyang slowly withdrew his fist, and without looking at Lu Shun's body, he said indifferently, "Do I need to share the reward with you, trash, for a mere Lin Muyu?" Holding the long sword, he ran away at lightning speed. Finally found it. Lin Muyu clung on to a 1,000-year-old withered tree, feeling ecstatic. "You, what did you find?" Chu Yao stood under the tree and asked in confusion. Lin Muyu pulled out his sword, and carefully dug out the purple fungus growing out of the tree. Then, the fungus fell to the ground, and he hurriedly said, "Sister Chu Yao, don't touch these things with your hands. This is..." Chu Yao tilted her head to look at the strange fungus, and suddenly came to a realization, "Heavens, is this a kind of herb? I've seen it in the Divine Alchemy tome before, and it seems to be poison, dragon's tongue fungus, right?" Lin Muyu jumped down from the tree, and smiled, "That's right, it's dragon's tongue fungus. This is a highly poisonous herb. What are you doing with these dragon's tongue fungus?" "To refine poison." "To refine poison?" Chu Yao opened her small mouth, and said in an educating tone, Grandpa taught us that we are alchemists, and must uphold the heart of practicing medicine. How can we refine poison?" Lin Muyu smiled, and held Chu Yao's shoulder, and said, "Sister, we are being chased by countless people. If we don't refine poison, I'm afraid we won't even have the chance to practice medicine." "Then what kind of poison do you want to refine?" "Clear breeze intoxication, a level 7 medicine. It scatters with the wind, and can make people confused and slow down. Moreover, it is colorless and odorless, and will not be discovered at all. However, the recipe for clear breeze intoxication requires a dose of intestine-severing orchid, and I haven't been able to find it yet." Chu Yao painstakingly recalled, and said, "The Divine Alchemy tome has records of intestine-severing orchid, and it seems that this orchid only blooms at night. Its fragrance is very strange, and a bit smelly. It's going to be night soon." Lin Muyu looked at the sky, and said, "Dragon's tongue fungus and intestine-severing orchid are both extremely poisonous things. Since there is dragon's tongue fungus here, there must be intestine-severing orchid here. We will find it soon." Saying this, Lin Muyu wrapped the dragon's tongue fungus in layers of leaves, and put it into her bag. Just as she finished all of this, he suddenly felt a strong killing intent behind him. "Be careful." He hurriedly pushed Chu Yao away, and without thinking, turned around, and released his martial spirit. The black tortoise shell skill was added to the gourd wall, forming an iron wall defense behind him. Bang! Sparks flew, and a long saber landed heavily on the black tortoise shell, and actually caused many cracks to appear on it. Just from this attack, it could be seen that the attacker's strength was even greater than Hua Tian's. After the flames dissipated, Guanyang stood in front of Lin Muyu, holding a long saber in his hand, and said with a faint smile, "You are indeed worthy of being the kid who killed Hua Tian. You have some skills, but it seems that you can't kill Hua Tian with just this little bit of skill, can you? It seems that you must have taken advantage of the situation. Who are you?" Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the steel sword on her back, and asked with a calm look in her eyes. "I am Guanyang, one of the 7 martial saints of the 7 Stars Forest. I have come to take your and that little girl's heads." Guanyang raised his hand and took out a piece of paper. He looked at the portrait on it, and then raised his head to look at Lin Muyu. After comparing them a few times, he said with a smile, "It seems that it is you. If you have any last words, say them now, or else you won't have the chance. I should be the one who said that to you." Lin Muyu stood proudly in the same place, and the steel sword in her hand was already flashing with lightning. Arrogant. Guan Yang had already seen through her. He could feel that Lin Muyu's strength was only at the level of 38 combat master, while he himself was a genuine level 48 battle saint. He could completely crush his opponent's strength. In the next moment, he had already summoned his martial soul, which was a beast martial soul in the shape of a wolf. The wolf's head appeared on the saber, which made it look even more ferocious. "Go to hell, kid!" Guan Yang roared angrily. He pushed his true qi and rushed forward, and with a twist of his saber, he stabbed forward. Lin Muyu had been studying the Imperial Wind Sword art for many days, so she had already gained some experience in combat. She activated the wind symbol formula of the sword art, and retreated as fast as lightning. With 2 clangs, she blocked the sudden stab of the saber. However, Guan Yang's attacks were endless. He flipped the hilt of his saber and slashed forward in the air. The beast martial soul on the saber roared, and countless raging flames surged out. Bang! Lin Muyu had completely entered a defensive posture, and was forced to take a few steps back. Both of his arms felt numb. Guan Yang's strength was too strong. He silently circulated his qi, and with a swoosh 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 sound, 3 gourd vines broke out of the ground. Guan Yang laughed out loud. His boots suddenly stomped on the ground, and the flames spread out, burning all the gourd vines. He sneered, "Is this all you've got? Then I really have to say goodbye." Lin Muyu roared in a low voice, and the gourd vines in all directions quickly rushed forward. Wolf force. Guan Yang also roared angrily. The beast martial soul roared, and the raging flames sprayed everywhere. The strength of a level 48 battle saint was indeed amazing. It was as if he was going to start a big fire. The evening sky was lit up by the flames, and Lin Muyu's gourd vines were almost burnt to ashes. Only a few vines were left, and they were still entangling towards Guan Yang like poisonous snakes. Bang! Amidst the turbulence, Lin Muyu had already activated his falling star steps, and rushed towards Guan Yang at a high speed. His long sword swept across, and he used Thunder Strike. "In your dreams." Guan Yang raised his palm and slapped it fiercely. His strength was so strong that he actually shook off the Thunder Strike. However, it was obvious that Lin Muyu had more than this. The blade of her sword slanted, and Guan Yang's long sword lost its aim. At the same time, she used the falling star steps and jumped forward, and the long sword was already on Guan Yang's back. The flames were raging, and the steel sword could not pierce through Guan Yang's protective aura. His strength was way above Lin Muyu's. Sister Chuyao, Yangguan Acupoint. Just when Guan Yang's back was hit by the hilt of his blade, Lin Muyu had created a perfect opportunity. Guan Yang's back was wide open, and the Yangguan Acupoint was the weakest acupoint on the waist. This was the perfect opportunity. Swoosh! A silver needle was quickly inserted into the Yangguan Acupoint. Guan Yang was startled for a second, and in the next moment, a green vine broke out of the ground and entangled him. The thorns on the green vine pierced into his skin through the Yangguan Acupoint. Bastard! Guan Yang was enraged. Chapter 36. As one of the 7 martial saints, he had actually suffered such a great loss at the hands of 2 little brats. This was the greatest humiliation of his life for Guan Yang. The edge of the blade trembled, and a strong flame rushed towards Lin Muyu. But this brat did not even try to fight it head-on. With a leap, he escaped from the attack range like a rabbit. "Let's go." Lin Muyu grabbed Chuyao by the waist, activated the falling star steps, and ran away. "Don't go, you shameless brat." Guan Yang was furious. He gathered his true qi, grasped the long blade, and chased after them. But he did not realize that the wound caused by the thorns on the gourd vines was still leaking true qi. After running for almost 20 miles, Lin Muyu finally stopped. He put down Chu Yao, turned around to look at the panting Guan Yang, and slowly pulled out the steel sword. "Are you finally tired?" Guan Yang sneered, raised the long blade, and said, "Since you are tired, then die." Lin Muyu smiled, a very bright smile. Rustle, stepping on the grass, he leaped forward. Lin Muyu gathered all the true qi in his body on the steel sword. Lightning flashed. This was his strongest attack, the secret technique passed down from Chu Chu, Thunderstrike. Bang! The blade of the sword struck the hilt with lightning. Guan Yang's arms were numb, his hands could not hold on, and the long blade flew out of his hand. He was a little stunned. The situation had turned around. This brat's true qi was already stronger than his. How is this possible? Guan Yang clenched his teeth. Lin Muyu sneered, his left hand slashed through the air, and with a sharp whistle, the demon noise blade flew straight towards Guan Yang. Guan Yang hurriedly rushed to the long blade, picked up the large blade, and turned around to block. Sparks flew as the demonic noise blade's attack was blocked. Lin Muyu quickly raised her left fist. Bang! Bang! Two demon sound punches reverberated in the air. The first punch forced Guan Yang to barely raise his true qi to protect his body. Otherwise, the demon sound punches would have shattered his internal organs. The second punch landed on the demon sound saber that was spinning in the air. Crack! The demon noise saber flashed across the night sky like the god of death. In the blink of an eye, it cut through Guan Yang's neck. Blood gushed out of his arteries. He hastily reached out to cover the wound, but it was too late. Just as he was about to lose consciousness, Lin Muyu said with a plain tone, "Hua Tian died the same way." Guan Yang's face was filled with anger. He knelt on the ground and collapsed weakly. An expert who dominated a region had died just like that under the demonic noise saber. After catching the demonic noise saber, Lin Muyu split it into 4 flying daggers and hid them at her waist. She walked up to Guan Yang and opened his luggage. She found a dozen or so Jin coins and 2 gold notes, one for 100 Jin coins and the other for 150 Jin coins. She didn't expect one of the 7 martial saints to be so poor, but she still accepted everything. Chu Yao looked at Guan Yang's corpse on the ground and said, "Is it worth it to throw away your life for money?" Lin Muyu smiled slightly. "That's because we won. Otherwise, he would have carried our heads to collect the bounty of 100,000 Jin coins. He would have been the real winner then. Emin, let's go." "All right." Before they had gone too far, Lin Muyu suddenly stopped and sniffed hard. She smiled and said, "Sister Chu Yao, I found what I was looking for. It's the intestine-severing orchid." Chu Yao was overjoyed. The two of them followed the scent and found an orchid under a 1,000-year-old tree. The intestine-severing orchid was highly poisonous like the dragon's tongue fungus. However, when the medicinal essence of these 2 herbs was mixed together, it wasn't highly poisonous. Instead, it was a poison called refreshing breeze intoxication. It would only numb one's mind and slow down one's movements, but it wasn't very fatal. Lin Muyu wasn't in a hurry to refine the medicine. She continued to search the forest with Chu Yao. In the middle of the night, they found another herb, the spirit concentrating flower, a level 6 herb. Chu Yao had already memorized the records in the divine medicine canon. The spirit concentrating flower could be used to refine a medicine called the spirit concentrating powder. It was a rare solid-state medicine, and Chu Yao instantly understood Lin Muyu's intentions. The spirit concentrating powder could neutralize the poison of the refreshing breeze intoxication. Thus, one must first take the spirit concentrating powder before refining the refreshing breeze intoxication. Otherwise, the refiner might not be able to withstand the poison during the refining process. They found a cave in the mountains and spread hay on the ground as a mat. Lin Muyu secretly rejoiced that it was only the Mid-Autumn festival. If it was winter, she really didn't know how she and Chu Yao could survive in this desolate forest. During the day, they hunted a wild boar and put a piece of fat meat into the iron pot to cook soup. Chu Yao was in charge of food and drink, while Lin Muyu was in charge of defense and refining the medicine. This had already become a tacit understanding between the two of them. A pile of spirit concentrating flour was slowly turned into medicinal essence by Lin Muyu. She used the mountain spring water to refine the medicine. The refining method of spirit concentrating flour was very simple. It was the fermentation of medicinal essence and water. However, the medicinal essence must be very pure. An ordinary refiner wouldn't be able to control it at all. However, Lin Muyu had the essence condensing hand. The purity of medicinal essence had already reached the peak. Therefore, refining the spirit concentrating powder was a piece of cake for him. After refining 2 bottles of spirit concentrating powder, Lin Muyu and Chu Yao drank 1 bottle each. Then, they began to refine the poison. Lin Muyu carefully refined the medicinal essence. Then, she mixed the 2 kinds of medicinal essence in a small bottle and carefully refined it. The breeze drunk was colorless and tasteless. Moreover, the 2 of them had already taken the antidote, so they didn't feel much. After refining a few bottles of breeze drunk and giving them to Chu Yao, Lin Muyu cautiously warned, "When you encounter a strong enemy, pour 1 bottle on the ground. The antidote of spirit concentrating powder has an effect of 48 hours. Both of us will be fine after drinking 1 bottle." Chu Yao did as she was told. Unknowingly, her junior, Lin Muyu, had become her pillar of support. She also knew that this mysterious junior must be hiding something that no one knew. However, since he didn't want to say it, she didn't want to ask. The night passed quickly. On the second day, Lin Muyu woke up early, only to find that his strength had reached saturation. It seemed that he had reached level 39. He only needed a suitable opportunity to step into the realm of Battle Saint. And this opportunity was actually very simple. He just needed to find a spirit beast that was strong enough, kill it, and absorb the spirit of the beast to help him break through. There were many spirit beasts in the 7 Stars Forest. There was no doubt about this. Now, he needed to verify a question. Would the breeze drunk have any effect on spirit beasts? In the game, Conquer, that Lin Muyu had played before, the breeze drunk was a first-class poison. It was very effective on players as it could greatly weaken the opponent's strength, allowing the weak to defeat the strong. But what if it was used on spirit beasts? God knows if it would work or not. Let's give it a try. This time, Guan Yang was already so strong. Who would be the next one? Maybe even stronger. Lin Muyu only knew one thing. She had to improve herself, otherwise, she still wouldn't be able to bring Chu Yao out of this forest. Just as they walked out of the cave, a swoosh sound was heard. Lin Muyu hurriedly stepped back and dodged the arrow. The arrow went straight into the rock. The strength of the arrow was really strong. He quickly raised his hand and pulled out his steel sword. He said in a low voice, "Sister, wait for me here." In the next moment, he rushed forward like an arrow. There was a hunter hiding in the forest. He was also a mercenary. "Come out." With a light wave of his palm, green vines rose up. This mercenary was immediately unable to hide. He threw away his longbow and pulled out his sword to slash at the gourd vines around him. However, there were more and more gourd vines. The thorns pierced into his body one after another. Naturally, he couldn't block them. In the midst of a miserable howl, this wandering mercenary with the strength of a level 32 battlemaster hurriedly begged for mercy. "Young hero Lin, please spare my life. I don't dare to sneak attack you anymore. Please spare my life. I'm only doing this for the reward. I don't have any evil intentions." Killing for the reward is considered to have no evil intentions? Lin Muyu held his steel sword with a calm expression. He pointed at Chu Yao behind him and said, "If I were killed by your sneak attack, would you chop off her beautiful head? Or maybe, that's the answer I want." Lin Muyu smiled faintly. With a sudden thrust of his sword, he pierced through the heart of the wandering mercenary. He didn't dare to be merciful. If he didn't kill this person, he might summon even more mercenaries to chase after him. Furthermore, how many of these wandering mercenaries were good people? More importantly, he had to kill these people who were chasing after him, so he didn't have to be soft-hearted. Carrying his sword that was covered in blood, Lin Muyu turned around and walked to Chu Yao's side. He smiled and said, "Sister Chu Yao, don't you think that you is too cruel?" Chu Yao looked at his slightly trembling arm and couldn't help but feel a burst of heartache. Her eyes were red as she said, "No, I know that you is killing people for me." Lin Muyu didn't say anything. How could he be willing to kill people? Every time he killed someone, his fear increased, and every time he killed someone, his guilt increased. Even in his dreams, it was as if someone was coming to take his life, so after entering the Seven Stars Forest, he had never had a good sleep. Sleep was already an extravagant hope for him. At this time, when he thought about how Chu Chu didn't sleep at night, he seemed to have understood something. They continued to move north. After walking for about 10 miles, they suddenly found a ground full of decaying plants. Everything around them seemed to have changed. Lin Muyu sniffed and said, "Be careful, there's something poisonous here." What could it be? Chu Yao was shocked. Lin Muyu smiled and comforted her, "Don't be too nervous. We've all taken the spirit-gathering powder. For the time being, no poison can pose a threat to us. Don't worry." They continued to move forward. Most of the things around them had withered and decayed. They were getting closer and closer to the poison. "Be careful, we're here." Lin Muyu pointed at a pale red plant in the distance. She smiled and asked, "Guess what that is?" Chu Yao opened her mouth, I don't know, poisonous coxcomb flower, a plant-type spiritual beast. It has lived for at least 2,000 years. Chapter 37. Venomous Coxcomb Flower. Chu Yao carefully looked into the distance. She had never seen this type of plant-type spirit beast before. Lin Muyu had some understanding of this type of spirit beast, because in Conquer, he had once led his companions to challenge this golden boss. There was nothing scary about the coxcomb flower, except that it could spit out fiery red venom, which was a little tricky to deal with. However, in this world, it seemed that the characteristics of spirit beasts were interlinked with Ikonker. Perhaps this would be useful to him. "Sister Chu Yao, don't attack first, let me go." Lin Muyu carefully held the steel sword and stepped forward. A spirit beast that was 2,000 years old had the strength of a level 50 battle saint, so it was better to avoid being splashed by the venom. You have to be careful." Chu Yao pursed her red lips and looked at his back worriedly. However, she knew that she should not help him, because Lin Muyu's running speed was far faster than hers. The dodging ability of the Fallen Star Step was something that not many strong warriors could possess. Hiss, hiss, although the coxcomb flower was a plant type, its mobility was not bad. The flower disc, which was about a meter in diameter, slowly raised its head. It had already sensed the approaching danger and let out a snake-like sound. At the same time, a rustling sound came from the surrounding grassland, as if something was wriggling underground. It was the flower vine. Lin Muyu knew all too well that the flower vine of the coxcomb flower was buried underground, but it could emerge from the ground at any time to entangle or even pierce through the enemy. However, the moment the flower vine emerged from the ground, the flower disc would tremble in anticipation. It was probably because the power of the flower vine originated from the flower disc. He stared at the movement of the flower plate as he slowly walked forward. A few seconds later, the flower plate suddenly trembled and a sound came from the ground. Now! Hurriedly activating falling star steps, a silhouette flashed to the side, and a flower vine shot out from the ground. It was covered with poisonous thorns, and it looked like it was baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. Lin Muyu did not stop and quickly moved. With a stretch of her palm, she took out the demonic noise blade from her back and hurriedly threw it out. With a sharp whistle, the demonic noise blade went straight for the flower's head. Bang! 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 The coxcomb flower, which had cultivated for 2,000 years, naturally knew how to protect itself. A series of flower vines shot out from the ground, forming a green vine barrier. However, the demonic noise saber sliced through with a sharp whistle, spraying out piles of green liquid that went straight for the coxcomb flower's flower disc. GG. The coxcomb flower actually let out a cry similar to that of a small beast. It abruptly opened its flower disc and sprayed out a stream of fiery red poison, which bombarded the demonic noise blade with lightning speed. GG, the magic noise blade immediately emitted green smoke, as if it was being corroded. Lin Muyu's heart ached. This was the treasure that Chu Chu had left for her, the famous weapon of a famous general, Feng Yicheng. The demonic sonic fist was blocked by the countless flower vines surrounding the flower tray. Left with no choice, Lin Muyu turned around and punched the demonic sonic fist at the demonic sonic saber. The saber quickly turned around and flew to the right. Lin Muyu raised her long sword and rushed over. She activated the slash formula of the wind-riding sword technique. Her steel sword danced wildly and broke through the flower vines. Ka ka ka, pieces of flower vines flew into the air. After breaking through 3 flower vine barriers, the steel sword was filled with lightning and quickly rushed towards the flower disc. Lightning strike slash. But before he could get close, the coxcomb flower once again opened its sinister mouth and spat out a mouthful of fiery red liquid. The speed at which the liquid sprayed out was so fast that it formed a sharp arrow. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was already prepared. She raised her left arm and her martial spirit came out, condensing the mystic tortoise shell on the wall of the gourd. Chi La, the poisonous liquid splattered on the wall of the gourd, immediately injuring her martial spirit. The liquid was not only poisonous, it also had a strong corrosive effect. The mystic tortoise shell melted in the blink of an eye. Her martial spirit was injured, and her body was not much better off. Lin Muyu's heart was in turmoil. Fortunately, she was able to discern the location of the magic noise blade by listening to the sound. Sister Chu Yao used the purple marten to spit fire at the flower vines. After a loud shout, flames came from outside. Chu Yao opened her hand and summoned the purple marten. The little purple marten roared crazily and spat out flames. This was the move that the fire fox was good at. As a result, the body of the coxcomb flower could not take it anymore after being burned by the purple marten. It screamed loudly and all the vines convulsed. Good chance. The demonic noise saber came whistling from behind, and with a kacha sound, a part of the flower's stem was severed. Lin Muyu took advantage of this heaven-sent opportunity to dash forward with her sword. With a sudden burst of speed, she slashed at the damaged part of the flower's stem with lightning strike slash. This flower's toughness was not inferior to that of the iron pear flower. Hua la, countless poisonous liquids splattered everywhere. Lin Muyu quickly raised her arm and summoned the green gourd to protect herself. She covered her entire body behind the wall of the gourd and waited for the poisonous liquid to finish spraying out before she was safe. The poison coxcomb flower had already turned into a plant and was dead. A ball of beast spirit appeared on top of it. Chuya walked over carefully and saw that Lin Muyu's martial spirit was covered in the poisonous liquid. She could not help but ask, "Are you all right?" "I'm fine." Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and smiled. "Luckily we all used the spirit concentration powder. Otherwise, the poisonous liquid would have been enough to make us vomit for a while." Hurry up and refine the beast spirit. All right. Without sitting down, she stood up and summoned her martial spirit. The green gourd began to absorb the coxcomb flower's beast spirit. At the same time, she took out the artifact refining cauldron. With a buzz, a golden light enveloped the surroundings. Even Chu Yao was enveloped in it. She widened her eyes and stared at the artifact refining cauldron in shock. What is this? A vessel. Lin Muyu explained briefly. Seeing Chu Yao's confused expression, she could not help but smile and say, "This is my unique vessel. It can better absorb the beast spirit. You can even say that it can absorb the special skills contained in the beast spirit." Chu Yao's mouth fell open. No wonder Yu's martial spirit gains skills every time it breaks through. That means that I was able to absorb the Fire Fox's Flame Blast skill because of Yu's help. Yes. Lin Muyu did not deny it. At this moment, he and Chu Yao could be considered to be in a life and death situation. There was no need to hide anything. Of course, he did not mention that he had transmigrated from a game. There was no way he could explain it. Even he did not understand what was going on. The refining process lasted for close to an hour. Within the violent coxcomb flower's beast spirit, Lin Muyu finally caught hold of the most violent and poisonous energy. She refined it bit by bit. Immediately, the green gourd changed color. It was no longer green, but a dark red gourd. Looking inside his Yi, he discovered that within the red gourd, there was a violent poisonous liquid energy. This was the source of the skill. Congratulations, brother, your green gourd has broken through to the 4th level. You have also obtained the coxcomb flower's skill, poisonous liquid spray. The female elf official, Lulu, had flown out. However, only Lin Muyu could see her. She smiled as she nestled on Lin Muyu's shoulder and said, "Brother is getting stronger and stronger. I am so happy. However, brother has been living in the mountains every day. It is too hard. Those bad guys have been chasing brother for money. Damn it." Lin Muyu smiled and did not explain. Lulu played for a while before entering his Yi to sleep. It was not easy for this little elf to survive in this world. Every time it appeared, it would consume a lot of energy. Standing up, Lin Muyu exerted strength in his fist. Suddenly, his true chi turned into raging flames and spewed out. Lin Muyu leisurely took a deep breath. He had never felt so comfortable before. It was as if all the bones, muscles, and blood vessels in his body had been refined. Chu Yao smiled and said, "Congratulations, you have stepped into the 2nd level of the Earth realm. You have become a level 40 war elder." Level 40. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. Back then, a level 42 Hawkeye was an unparalleled existence in her heart. But now, she had unknowingly reached level 40, and the power of her martial soul was even purer. Coupled with her demon noise blade and demon noise fist, even 2 Hawkeyes wouldn't be a match for her. Let's go, big sister Chu Yao. There is nothing left to be attached to here. Lin Muyu lifted the steel sword and picked up the magic noise blade. However, she found that the blade was still stained with a poisonous liquid. Thus, she washed it with the nearby stream. After the liquid dispersed, the magic noise blade was still as bright as snow. It was not corroded by the poison at all. It was indeed a treasured blade. No wonder it was called Feng Yicheng's famous divine weapon. Putting the magic noise blade back into his bag, he continued forward with Chu Yao. Not long after, an eagle's cry suddenly came from the sky. Looking up, there was a goshawk circling above their heads. Immediately, Lin Muyu's heart sank. She could not help but frown, but did not say anything. Chu Yao saw it and said with a smile, "The goshawk is probably looking for food. This kind of situation is very common in the jungle." But, Lin Muyu nodded and said, "But it is not the first time we have seen this eagle. "Ah, you, what do you mean?" "Yes, I am afraid we have been targeted again. Let's go." Lin Muyu looked up at the goshawk in the sky and clenched her teeth. "This feathered beast should be thankful that I didn't bring my bow with me. Otherwise, I'll definitely shoot. No, my archery skills haven't reached an extraordinary level yet. With such a high distance, I definitely won't be able to hit the target. Forget it, I'll just take it one step at a time. If someone really came after me, I'll just fight with my life." Chapter 38. A mournful cry could be heard as a black goshawk descended from the sky and landed under a towering ancient tree in the seven-star forest. Under the tree was a man riding a fiery red steed. On the horse's back was a light golden carved bow with shining jewels. He raised his arm and let the goshawk land on it. Then, he heard the goshawk cry something and smiled, "Looks like it's not too far away. This Lin Muyu is really amazing to be able to kill Big Blade Guan Yang. It looks like this trip of mine, Yi Liang's, will not be in vain." As he said this, he suddenly cracked his whip and the horse immediately neighed and rushed forward. The mountain was full of jagged rocks, but the horse was able to walk through the shrubs and boulders as if it was flat ground. It was truly majestic. In the blink of an eye, night had fallen. This was the time that Lin Muyu worried about the most. They had to find a suitable place to set up camp and the fire couldn't be spread too far. Otherwise, they would be easily discovered. Therefore, they had to find a place like a depression or a cave. However, caves usually had a master. Wild beasts' night vision was far better than humans. Lin Muyu was very self-aware and didn't want to challenge a spirit beast in the middle of the night unless it was absolutely necessary. "Let's stay here, we can't go any further." He raised his head and looked into the distance. There were waves of wolf howls coming from that direction. It wouldn't be good if they attracted a pack of wolves. Most of the wolves in the seven-star forest were spirit beasts that were less than 1,000 years old. He could easily kill them one by one, but if a pack came, he and Chuyao would become a delicious meal in the mouth of the pack. Tonight, they chose a small cave that was only about 3 meters deep. In reality, it was just a cave that was sunken into the rock wall to hide. It couldn't even be considered a cave. Chuyao looked around for some dry wood to use as firewood. Lin Muyu used a water bag to wash the stag meat that they had hunted an hour ago. It was a stag that was less than 5 years old and didn't have a beast spirit. It was used as a meat deer. Luckily, the meat was very fresh and tender. At least they wouldn't starve for this meal. Every time they killed a wild beast, Lin Muyu didn't dare cut off too much of its meat. This was because carrying too much weight on the way would easily exhaust her stamina. She and Chuyao were in a state of being chased, so they had to store enough stamina to deal with any pursuers that might come at any time. Not long after, a pot of fragrant venison soup was already boiling. Chuyao used a clean dagger to stir the venison in the pot, a trace of hope on her beautiful face. It was rare for her to be able to maintain a childish heart here. "Let's eat, you." "Got it. I'll be right there." Lin Muyu carried a bundle of firewood and walked back. She had to store some firewood for the night. Otherwise, it would be too easy for the beasts to get close. At this moment, a jia jia sound suddenly came from the sky. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. It was too familiar. That's right, it was the voice of the goshawk. Its cry was very mournful. "What's wrong?" Chuyao walked out. "It's that eagle again. It's following us," Lin Muyu said. Chuyao looked up at the sky full of stars and pouted, "It can't be. Could it be that someone is using the eagle's tracking ability to follow us? I can't rule out that possibility." Lin Muyu put down the firewood and said, "Sister Chuyao, what do you know about wandering mercenaries? Among the 7 martial saints, is there anyone who is good at taming eagles to follow others?" I don't know much about the 7 martial saints, but... Chuyao nodded and thought for a moment. She suddenly said, I know one. One of the 7 martial saints, Yi Liang, is known as the Eagle Tamer. He has an eagle that is good at tracking. But, it shouldn't be that bad, right? I heard that Yi Liang's family background is very good. His father is the owner of a villa. He shouldn't be someone who would risk his life for 100,000 Jin coins. That's hard to say. Everyone pursues different things. After sitting down, Lin Muyu frowned and said, Sister, hurry up and eat. After this meal, we'll continue on our way and leave this place. Chuyao was startled. Are we going to travel at night? Yes, we must get rid of this eagle. Otherwise, I'll feel like I'm sitting on pins and needles. Alright then, Chuyao ladled a bowl of soup with a lot of meat for her. Lin Muyu didn't care that the soup was too hot and wolfed it down. Then, he packed up his luggage and watched as Chuyao finished the soup and extinguished the fire. However, he hadn't gone too far when he suddenly heard the sound of hooves behind him. Not good, it's coming. He hurriedly threw down his luggage and pulled out his steel sword. But at this moment, the sound of rushing wind whistled past. By the time Lin Muyu turned around, it was already too late. With a poochie sound, an iron arrow had pierced through his chest, straight through his back. You! Chuyao's voice was especially miserable. She just watched as an arrow pierced through Lin Muyu's chest. A large amount of blood flowed down along with the arrow's head. Don't move. Get down. Lin Muyu endured the pain but was exceptionally calm. He pressed down on Chuyao's shoulder and pressed her down into the bushes. The sound of hooves grew closer and closer. Then, 2 more arrows were shot, but they both disappeared into the bushes. His judgment was very accurate. The intruder had determined his position by the target's movement. If he didn't move, then the intruder wouldn't know where he was at all. Pa! The intruder dismounted and raised his hand to pull out a long sword with a keng sound. The blade of the sword was surrounded by flames and reflected on his face. It was one of the 7 martial saints, Yi Liang. Come out, Lin Muyu. Yi Liang laughed loudly and suddenly slashed out with his sword. The flames exploded and the bushes caught fire, illuminating the entire area. At this time, there was nowhere to hide. Lin Muyu slowly grabbed the handle of the arrow and slowly pulled it out. The pain was so great that she was about to collapse. Chuyao's eyes were filled with tears as she watched. She hurriedly poured a bottle of first-rank healing medicine on the wounds on her chest and back. However, Lin Muyu had already discovered through her inner vision that her lungs had been pierced through. Breathing had become difficult and she had to end this quickly. Holding onto Chuyao's hand, he lowered his voice and said, Use drunk breeze. I will go out and attract his attention. No. Just as Chuyao was about to say something, she saw that Lin Muyu had already stood up. From afar, Yi Liang still looked like a young man less than 30 years old. The artifact carving bow was hanging on the horse behind him. Without the bow and arrow, Lin Muyu felt much more at ease. Behind him, Chuyao had already opened the cap of a bottle of drunk breeze. Immediately, the colorless and odorless poison quietly spread out. You are Lin Muyu? Under the illumination of the flames, Yi Liang's face was filled with arrogance and pride. He smiled and said, It seems like you are just a weakling. How could someone like you kill Big Blade Guanyang? Lin Muyu was inwardly furious. He thought to himself, if it weren't for this grandson's sneak attack, would have killed you as well. However, he didn't have the confidence to do so now. His opponent was a level 51 battle saint. His strength was originally above his own. Moreover, he was seriously injured. His only chance of winning was the effect of the drunk breeze's poison. Who are you? How dare you attack me with a sneak attack? How shameless. He tried to stall for time. Yi Liang laughed coldly. This young master is Yi Liang, ranked third among the 7 martial saints. Let me tell you, this young master only casually shot you with an arrow. You're just unlucky. Furthermore, even if this young master didn't shoot you in the dark, I could still kill you. A person like you can only kill trash like Guan Yang, who hasn't even stepped into the 3rd sky of the earth realm. As he spoke, the long sword in Yi Liang's hand slowly trembled. A fire snake actually climbed up the blade. This was his 6th grade martial spirit, Fire Snake. It could greatly increase the power of its owner's law of fire. It was also because of the power of the fire snake that Yi Liang was able to become one of the 7 martial saints at such a young age. Lin Muyu only felt that it was getting harder and harder to breathe. He held the steel sword tightly in his right hand and raised his head to look at Yi Liang. He said, "Even if you kill me today, it will be an unfair victory. You will only be the laughing stock of the world." What a joke. Yi Liang sneered, "If I kill you now, who will know that I shot you with a sneak attack?" As he spoke, he already couldn't wait to attack. He leaped into the sword light and attacked. Lin Muyu couldn't even see Yi Liang's figure. She only saw streaks of sword chi coming at her from the fire light. They couldn't attack each other. This attack had to be defended. She suddenly opened her left hand and the gourd martial spirit came out of her body. Then, she condensed the black tortoise shell. Clang, clang, clang. Yi Liang's blade cut the black tortoise shell 3 times in a row and created 3 cracks. However, the powerful rebound caused him to freeze on the spot. He said in shock, "Such powerful defense. Are you really only at the 1st sky of the earth realm?" Lin Muyu didn't say anything. As the black tortoise shell dissipated, she had already charged forward. Her steel sword struck Yi Liang's abdomen with flames and lightning. Bam! Yi Liang was unscathed from the heavy strike. Instead, pieces of gaseous armor slowly crumbled from his abdomen. It was an ability unique to the 3rd firmament of the earth realm, Chi armor. It could condense quintessential Chi into Chi armor to protect oneself. Looking at the fiery red true Chi that appeared on the surface of Lin Muyu's body, Yi Liang couldn't help but laugh. "So you've already stepped into the 2nd sky of the earth realm. No wonder. Ha ha ha, this is great." As he spoke, he took a few steps back and held his long sword horizontally. The fire serpent martial spirit suddenly transformed and enlarged, turning into a real fire serpent that swallowed her. Lin Muyu had no choice but to defend. She forcefully gathered her true chi and condensed the black tortoise shell again. Bam! Under the crazy attack, he took a few steps back. The clothes on his shoulders were already burnt. It was very tragic. How could he be Yi Liang's match when there was a huge difference in strength? Die! Yi Liang rushed forward again. Just as he was about to kill Lin Muyu with one sword strike, a vine suddenly rose from under his feet and quickly wrapped around his feet. It was the root entanglement skill of the gourd martial spirit. Damn it, what is this? He shouted angrily and quickly raised the flame essence to burn the green vine. How could Lin Muyu let go of such an opportunity? With a low shout, her true chi turned into poisonous liquid and shot out from the gourd flower on the gourd vine. This world was full of schemes. Yi Liang had taught Lin Muyu a lesson. This time, it was Lin Muyu's turn to teach him a lesson. Chapter 39. Hua. The all-pervasive poisonous liquid turned into rain and fell on Yi Liang's body, sizzling as it began to corrode his body. In the blink of an eye, his body was already badly mutilated. It was truly too miserable. Yi Liang's mistake was that he was too confident. He thought that he could rely on his sword arts to block Lin Muyu's attack, so he did not use any extra true chi to reform his chi armor. He never thought that Lin Muyu's martial spirit would also have a move like poisonous liquid spray. In an instant, his entire body was covered in poisonous liquid, the surface of his skin quickly corroded, and his originally handsome face had already collapsed into a terrifying appearance. "I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" he roared hoarsely, trying to determine the position of the sound. Although he was ambushed, he still had his strength, and his long sword was covered in blazing flames as it smashed down from the sky. Meanwhile, Lin Muyu's breathing was already becoming weaker and weaker, his lungs had been pierced and he was reaching the limit of his physical strength. His legs were like lead, unable to move, and he could not even use falling star steps. He could only raise his long sword with both arms to block this swift and fierce attack. Dang! A crisp sound rang out, and the steel sword was cut in half. Yi Liang was holding a treasured sword, while Lin Muyu was only holding an excellent longsword used by mercenaries. After the sound of the sword breaking, the fiery red longsword quickly slashed down, pooh! Blood splattered, and it directly cut into his shoulder, flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Lin Muyu knelt on one knee, clenched his teeth, and opened his hand to grab the edge of the sword, preventing it from continuing to cut down, or else it would injure his muscles and bones. Still not going to die. The corner of Yi Liang's mouth was filled with a sinister smile, and he used his true qi to forcefully press down on the long sword. However, at this moment, a sudden feeling of dizziness came over him, and he almost could not hold the long sword anymore. Finally, the clear breeze drunk's medicine took effect. What's going on? Yi Liang hurriedly shook his head, but the feeling of dizziness became stronger and stronger. He lifted his leg and kicked Lin Muyu's chest, pang. Lin Muyu responded and rolled into the grass. "I want you dead." Yi Liang limped towards Lin Muyu, who was in the bushes. He kept shaking his head. His vision was affected by the cool breeze drunk, and he could barely see anything. Just at this time, the sound of wind breaking could be heard. Pa! 2 silver needles were shot into the acupoints on Yi Liang's chest. Immediately, he was unable to move. Amidst the flames, Chu Yao sprinted over and abruptly grabbed the long sword in Yi Liang's hand. She turned around and slashed at him. Kacha! Blood splattered everywhere. Yi Liang, one of the 7 martial saints, his head fell to the ground. You! Chu Yao rushed over and saw Lin Muyu lying in a pool of blood. She burst into tears and hugged him. Are you okay? You, quickly say something to big sister. Lin Muyu slowly opened her eyes. Yi Liang, he, dead. Good. The corner of his mouth twitched with difficulty and revealed a smile. He stuttered, "Sister Chu Yao, I can't hold on much longer. Hurry. Hurry up and seal my acupoints with silver needles to stop the bleeding. Then use the healing medicine in my pocket to heal my internal injuries. Otherwise, I might really die." "All right." Chu Yao immediately put him down and quickly took out her silver needles. She followed the method Chu had left behind and sealed the corresponding acupoints one by one to stop the bleeding. Then, she took out Lin Muyu's first-grade healing medicine and poured it on the wound. However, the arrow that had pierced through Lin Muyu's chest was too serious. It was unknown whether she could survive or not. For a moment, Chu Yao's heart was in a mess. She hugged Lin Muyu and sobbed in the night sky. The starlight shone on the mountains. The young man and woman continued to experience life and death, as if there was no end. The devil's claws continued to dance in the night. The justice of this world had already fallen asleep. That night, Chu Yao did not sleep. She had been taking care of the injured Lin Muyu. In the early hours of the morning, Lin Muyu finally fell into a deep sleep. The wound had stopped bleeding completely. He had refined many first-grade healing medicines before this, but he did not expect that these medicines would actually save his life. At noon the next day, he slowly woke up and finally opened his eyes. As soon as she saw him open his eyes, Chu Yao immediately burst into tears. The fact that he could wake up meant that he could live on. Lin Muyu lay weakly in the grass. She heaved a sigh of relief and looked at her injuries. Under the effect of the healing medicine, the puncture in her lungs had basically begun to heal. This process took an entire night and so long because she was unconscious. Now that she had woken up, she gathered the true qi in her body bit by bit and used it to heal herself. After drinking some meat soup, she finally recovered some strength, and the martial soul gourd was also continuously recovering true qi to provide for her body. Seeing that Lin Muyu's face was gradually regaining color, Chu Yao finally smiled through her tears. At night, Lin Muyu could already get up and walk. After all, she was an expert who had stepped into the second heaven of the earth realm, so she should have such a strong recovery ability. In the grass, a long sword with a faint glow of fire lay there quietly. It was Yi Liang's weapon. Humph, it's all because of this. Chu Yao said angrily, if it weren't for this sword, you wouldn't have been so seriously injured. As she spoke, she picked up the long sword and smashed it on the stone. Io, this senior sister was really too willful. Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She hurriedly said, don't, Sister Chu Yao. Leave this sword to me. It just happened that my weapon was broken by it. This sword should have some reputation, otherwise it wouldn't be able to break my steel sword in an instant. Chu Yao handed the long sword to him. He reached out and gently touched the sword. A faint warmth was transmitted into his fingers. The sword's streamline was very simple and clear, and near the handle was engraved with 2 words, Prairie Fire. It should be the name of this sword. Lin Muyu thought of the burning flames produced when this sword was swung. It was indeed very suitable for its name. She couldn't help but laugh and said, Prairie Fire, good name. From now on, this sword belongs to me, right? Chu Yao giggled, it's yours, it's yours. I'll give you anything you want. Lin Muyu smiled and said, I remember when Yi Liang came here, he rode a fine horse. Where did that horse go? I caught it and tied it in the jungle over there. Okay, we have a mount. That horse looks very handsome. It should be enough to carry the 2 of us, right? Chu Yao blushed. Thinking of riding with him, she couldn't help but think more, but she still nodded and said, it should be possible. Are we going to ride a horse? Yes, otherwise I really don't know when we can reach Lanyan City. That's good. They recuperated until dawn the next day. In the middle of the night, a wandering mercenary came, but he only had the strength of a level 27 battle spirit. He was injured by Chu Yao's silver needles, and then killed by Lin Muyu's demonic sound fist. They didn't dare to be careless, but they never spared the life of any mercenary who tried to sneak attack them. In the morning, after eating their fill, they packed their luggage and hung it on both sides of the fine horse. Chu Yao rode the horse, while Lin Muyu sat in the back with the burning prairie sword hanging on his back. He only had a little bit of everything he had. As for the treasured carving bow, he also left behind. After all, the range of the demonic sound blade was only a few dozen meters, but with enough arm strength, the treasured carving bow could shoot hundreds of steps away. In this world, riding and archery were both necessary skills for warriors to learn. This had already made Lin Muyu determined to practice archery. Fortunately, he was born with a high comprehension ability, so he learned very quickly through self-study. After getting a mount, their speed became much faster. They could even gallop on flat terrain. At this speed, they should be able to enter the territory of Lanyan City in about 3 to 5 days. Along the way, he still didn't forget to cultivate, and even killed a spirit beast, helping Chu Yao to break through to the level of a level 34 battle master. Lin Muyu's advancement was even faster, and he already had the strength of a level 45 battle elder. Basically, he could easily defeat any opponent with the strength of a level 50 battle saint. After all, his 4-layer gourd martial soul had 4 skills, which was unique in the continent. Many opponents were at a disadvantage because of the martial soul's skills, and they were simply being toyed with. Jia Jia, in the sky, a bird's cry came. Lin Muyu looked up, it was that goshawk again. After its master died, the goshawk that Yi Liang had tamed had been following him. Touching the treasured carving bough, he jumped off the horse with killing intent, took out an arrow and knocked it, saying, "Bastard, who told you to follow us again?" Whoosh! Amidst the sound of a bowstring being released, the goshawk let out a mournful cry as it was shot through. It landed in the distant forest. Lin Muyu found it in a few steps and carried it back. She said with a smile, "Sister Chu Yao, pluck its feathers and cook it at noon. Goshawk meat should be quite delicious." Chu Yao pursed her lips and smiled, "Okay, okay, okay." However, at this time, a mournful bird cry suddenly came from the sky, and a gray figure flew over, getting closer and closer. Chu Yao squinted her beautiful eyes. "That's a falcon, a bird of prey in the sky, it's carnivorous." Lin Muyu knocked his bow again, "Shoot it down and make 2 pots of soup." "Don't worry." Chu Yao giggled, "This falcon doesn't seem to be hostile, it should be looking for us. When I was in Silver Fir City, I saw people taming falcons to deliver letters, maybe this is also the case." "Oh, is that so?" Under Lin Muyu's incredulous gaze, the falcon really did quickly land on Chu Yao's arm. It didn't seem to be ferocious, and there was a small bamboo tube tied to its leg. After Chu Yao took it off, she took out a note from the bamboo tube, saying, This is for you." There was actually someone who would send him a letter through a bird. This was a bit strange, who could it be? Receiving the note, there were a few lines clearly written on it, "Young hero Lin, I am Lei Baijian of the 100 War Trading Company. I know that young hero is in trouble, but I am unable to extricate myself and cannot provide any assistance. However, if young hero is interested, you can find a mercenary group in the 7 Stars Forest Scorching Wind Mountain area, called Scorching Wind Mercenaries. The leader is called Lei Qianhai, this humble one's younger twin brother. When Qianhai sees this letter, he will naturally understand his brother's intentions and will protect young hero along the way. Hope you take care." Looking at this note, Lin Muyu actually felt a little touched. She and Chu Yao had been fleeing for so many days in the 7 Stars Forest, but had never seen a real person. This Lei Baijian and she had only met once, but now he had sent a letter to help. It was really rare. Merchants could actually be so benevolent and righteous. Chapter 40. Are we going to look for the Scorching Wind Mercenary Group? Chu Yao was a little hesitant. Lin Muyu asked, "Big sister Chu Yao, what do you think?" Chu Yao's brows tightly knit together. "Originally, it would have been best for us to silently go to Lanyan City, but there have been more and more mercenaries chasing us these past few days. You're also heavily injured. I'm worried that if we run into a group of mercenaries, we won't be a match for them. Scorching Wind Mountain is less than 100 miles from here. How about we go?" Lin Muyu nodded. His injuries had indeed not completely healed, and he could only use less than 70% of his strength. If he really met experts like Yi Liang and Guanyang again, he might really be in danger. In just half a day, they arrived at the Scorching Wind Mountain. This was a mountain peak located in the volcanic belt. From afar, they could even see the magnificent scene of volcanoes erupting. When the two of them arrived at the foot of the mountain, they encountered a few minions. Lin Muyu took out Lei Baijian's letter and was brought up the mountain. Rather than calling it a mercenary group, it would be better to call it a bandit group that had gathered in the mountain stronghold. Each and every mercenary didn't look like a soldier at all. Their faces were like bandits, causing Lin Muyu and Chu Yao to feel a little uneasy. "The leader is in the hall, please come in," one of the minions said respectfully. Lin Muyu took down the Scorching Wind sword and carefully entered the hall with her hand on the hilt. There were dozens of chairs on both sides of the hall, and all the leaders were present. The leader's seat was occupied by a middle-aged mercenary who looked to be around 35 years old. His eyes shone brightly. "You're Lin Muyu?" The corner of his mouth rose. "Yes, you're the leader of the Scorching Wind mercenary group, Lei Qianhai." "Yes, that's me." Lei Qianhai walked down from his chair and laughed. "Little brother, you were actually able to single-handedly slaughter Hua Tian and Hua Wan, the father and son who had been tyrannical for many years. You're indeed a young hero. Come, sit. You're all tired, right? Servants, prepare dinner." Lin Muyu cupped her hands and respectfully refused. "Senior sister and I have been chased along the way, so we don't dare to disturb leader too much. Let's skip this meal, we plan to set off immediately. If it's possible, I hope that leader can send some brothers to protect us along the way. I can pay them handsomely." "What are you talking about, young hero?" Lei Qianhai patted his chest and said, "My brother asked me to protect you. If I, Lei Qianhai, were to accept your reward, then what kind of person would I be? Since young hero doesn't want to stay the night, that's fine too. I'll choose 100 of the most agile people on the mountain to accompany young hero." 100 people? Lin Muyu was taken aback. "No need for that many. 20 is enough." Young hero is too polite." "Servants, immediately choose 20 elite soldiers and prepare to set off. In addition, prepare enough food, water, and horses. We must escort young hero Lin safely to the place he wishes to go." As he spoke, Lei Qianhai suddenly bent down and looked at Lin Muyu and Chu Yao with a burning gaze. It said that Hua Tian lost his life in order to seize a copy of the Divine Medicine Codex. Young hero should have already retrieved the Divine Medicine Codex, right? Chu Yao was stunned. Lin Muyu indifferently said, "When we escaped, it was raining heavily and I was injured. My blood mixed with the rainwater, and by the time I remembered, the Divine Medicine Codex had already become a pile of grass pulp. So, the Divine Medicine Codex no longer exists in this world." "Oh, so it's like that," Lei Qianhai faintly smiled, but the disappointment in his eyes did not escape Lin Muyu's eyes. He then looked at the long sword in Lin Muyu's hand, and his eyes lit up. "This sword seems to be a soul-refining artifact. What is its name?" Lin Muyu inwardly cursed. How was this Lei Qianhai a good person? He was obviously a bandit. "This sword is called Prairie Fire. It was given to me by Yi Liang, one of the 7 martial saints." "Oh? Yi Liang gave it to you?" Lei Qianhai squinted his eyes. "I'm afraid, with Yi Liang's personality, he wouldn't be so generous. He even gave his protective sword to someone else. Could there be some misunderstanding?" Lin Muyu faintly smiled. "Then I'll tell you the truth. It's Yi Liang's relic." "What? Yi Liang is dead?" Lei Qianhai was extremely shocked. He muttered, "Yi Liang, ranked 3rd among the 7 martial saints, is actually dead. Heavens, could it be that he died at young hero's hands?" Lin Muyu nodded. "He wanted to kill me. I had no choice but to take his life." A trace of shock flashed through Lei Qianhai's eyes. He raised his gaze and looked at the high-ranking officer of the mercenary group. He said in a clear voice, "The mountain road is rugged and dangerous. Xinglan, will you escort young hero Lin to the north?" Among the crowd, a general holding a spear stood up and cupped his fists. "Yes, Captain." Lei Qianhai faintly smiled. "Young hero Lin, Xinglan is the best spear user in our Scorching Wind mercenary group. Her ability to fight on horseback is second to none. She has the strength of a level 46 battle elder. I believe she can help young hero Lin and Miss Chu overcome this difficult time." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "Thank you, Captain Lei." Chu Yao looked at him with a trace of worry in her eyes. How could Lin Muyu not be worried? The greed in Lei Qianhai's eyes was too obvious. The more people he sent, the more he wanted the treasure in Lin Muyu's hands. Lei Qianhai's gaze towards Chu Yao was also filled with greed. It seemed that this mercenary group leader was determined to get his hands on the great beauty Chu Yao. The reason why he didn't make a move on the mountain was probably because he wanted to take into account the reputation of the Scorching Wind mercenary group in the mercenary world. If he made a move at the foot of the mountain, wouldn't he be able to push the blame onto others? This was also Lin Muyu's only chance. If she went down the mountain and faced 21 experts, she might have a chance to survive. However, if she were to face over 2,000 mercenaries on the mountain, she would have no chance at all. Lei Qianhai also prepared a horse for Chu Yao, but it looked sickly. Following that, the 21 mercenaries, including Xing Lan, all mounted their horses. However, they didn't bring much food and water, which was enough to prove that they didn't plan on traveling for too long. Perhaps, they planned to make a move the moment they reached the foot of the Scorching Wind mountain. Forgive me for not sending you off. Lei Qianhai cupped his fists and laughed. Lin Muyu cupped her fists in return. She gripped her prairie fire sword tightly and urged her horse to leave with Chu Yao. The 21 mercenaries immediately followed closely behind. The group of people whizzed down the mountain. Not long after descending the Scorching Wind mountain, Chu Yao's horse quickly stopped running. It was a sickly horse. Lin Muyu also deduced Lei Qianhai's vicious intentions. As long as Chu Yao couldn't leave, he couldn't leave either. If the two of them rode on the same horse, they definitely wouldn't be able to outrun them. His gaze inadvertently swept across the group of mercenaries. The strongest person in this group was the level 46 battle elder Xing Lan. There were also a few battle masters over level 30. The rest were mostly battle spirits or battle generals, so there was nothing to be afraid of. However, what made Lin Muyu secretly complain was that every single one of these people had a bow hanging beside their horses. This already made him lose all thoughts of escaping. Either he killed this group of people, or he would have to leave Chu Yao, the prairie fire sword, and his own life behind. Young hero Lin, I wonder what records are recorded in the God of Medicine's canon? Xing Lan suddenly asked. I don't know. I have never seen my master's things. Oh, so that's how it is. Xing Lan looked into the distance and said, there are a lot of swift wolves living in the Gale Ridge in front of us. These swift wolves are very active at night. Why don't we camp under the Gale Ridge for the night and set off tomorrow morning? Under the Gale Ridge? Lin Muyu frowned and said, no need. We should take advantage of the night to cross the Gale Ridge. Otherwise, there will be more and more mercenaries chasing after us. I am also worried that something might happen to your people. If that's the case. A trace of killing intent flashed through Xing Lan's eyes. She smiled and said, all right then, we'll cross the Gale Ridge. We have a lot of people, so those swift wolves shouldn't dare to attack us. Otherwise, they will definitely break their teeth. Ha ha ha. That's right, young hero, is the God of Medicine's canon completely rotten? There should be some words left, right? It's all rotten. I can't see a single word clearly. Moreover, it's covered in blood. So that's how it is. Xing Lan wanted to ask more, but Lin Muyu had already urged her horse forward. She reached out and grabbed Chu Yao's slender waist, pulling her into her arms and speeding up. Chu Yao's heart warmed, but she said in a small voice, they are about to make a move. Yes, I know. Lin Muyu lowered her voice and said, once they make a move, immediately pour a bottle of refreshing breeze. I will hold them off. Their cultivation is far from Yi Liang's, so the effects of the medicine should take effect very quickly. However, before they make a move, we cannot make a move. After all, we cannot be sure that they will really harm us. We cannot kill a good person by mistake. Yes. One of them was slower than the other, so they were quickly caught up. 5 mercenaries were on the right, 5 in front, and 5 on the left. There was no one behind them, so they formed a circle around them. The signs of a fight were becoming more and more obvious. "Young hero, we are almost at the swift wolves gathering place." Xing Lan laughed. "So what?" Lin Muyu asked coldly. "They have been hungry for a long time." Xing Lan's smile became even wider. "Young hero, you should know how to cut meat to feed the wolves, right?" "Ha ha ha, they are really hungry." The surrounding mercenaries all took out their weapons. Some of them had already drawn their longbows and pointed them at Lin Muyu. Xing Lan even raised her spear and laughed loudly. "Lin Muyu, your head is worth 100,000 Jinin coins. Don't blame us. Do it." Lin Muyu said indifferently. Chu Yao quickly poured the refreshing breeze on the grass. At the same time, the green gourd martial spirit came out of her body and condensed into a complete gourd shape, covering the 2 people and the horse. The mystic tortoise shell also formed a circle and blocked the arrows. Xing Lan soared into the sky and raised her spear with both hands. Her martial spirit came out of her body, and icicles surged on the spear and landed on the mystic tortoise shell with great force. Bam! The ice crystal shattered and Xing Lan was bounced back. However, Lin Muyu did not fare well either. Her blood and qi were in turmoil from the attack. She raised her hand and threw out the demonic noise saber. Amidst the whistling sound, the 2 mercenaries quickly screamed and died. Chapter 41. You're courting death. When Xing Lan saw that 2 mercenaries had been killed, he immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. Icicles surged on his spear, and his entire body entered an extremely cold domain. His martial soul was an ice beast, and he also cultivated the law of ice, causing his entire body to be as cold as ice. At this moment, his entire body was like an ice-cold spear, charging straight at Lin Muyu. Break! The spear in his hand spun rapidly, forming an extremely powerful spiraling penetrating force. With a bang, it collided with the black tortoise shell. The powerful penetrating force caused Lin Muyu to shiver uncontrollably. In the next moment, the black tortoise shell was directly pierced through, and the tip of the spear struck his shoulder. Before the blood could spurt out, it had already frozen. The power of the ice seal was too strong, and Lin Muyu's left arm had already lost the ability to move. Poison liquid. With a low roar, green vines suddenly rose from the surrounding ground, binding Xing Lan and his horse within. He had never seen such a formation before, and hurriedly raised his spear to block in front of him. However, how could he block the poison liquid? With a splash, a mouthful of poison liquid directly enveloped his entire body. Under the corrosion, the face and chest of this level 46 war venerable began to fester, and he fell off his horse while howling miserably. Lin Muyu suddenly pulled the reins, turned around, and took advantage of the situation to sweep her sword across. The sharp prairie fire sword slashed open Xing Lan's neck, and blood flowed out. After struggling for a while, he stopped moving. Xing Lan was dead. The other mercenaries were dumbfounded. They brandished their weapons and wanted to attack, but 2 of them were killed by the demonic noise blade. Lin Muyu didn't dare to move his left arm, and carefully circulated his true qi to dissolve Xing Lan's ice force. Chu Yao leaped onto a warhorse at the side, and with a raise of her hand, a few silver needles flew out, blinding the eyes of a few mercenaries. "This kid killed Captain Xing Lan. Little bastard." A mercenary wielding a battle axe roared in anger as he raised his battle axe and charged forward. Lin Muyu placed her longsword horizontally on the back of her horse and raised her hand to unleash a demonic sonic punch. Under the impact of the sound waves, the mercenary spat out blood and died. Even the surrounding mercenaries didn't understand what had happened. Only a 50-year-old veteran soldier's face paled. "That's demonic sonic punch. Heavens, this kid knows the fire cauldron Chu-Chu's secret technique. Perhaps no one knew who Lin Muyu was, but everyone knew of the fire cauldron Chu-Chu. This name was already very famous in the continent. As long as one was a cultivator of the empire, there was no one who didn't know who Chu-Chu was. Moreover, there was no one who didn't know how unparalleled the might of Chu-Chu's fire cauldron martial soul was. We can't kill them. Let's go. A mercenary with a longbow quickly retreated. The other mercenaries also retreated, but in the process, they fell off their horses one after another. This was the effect of the clear breeze intoxication. Lin Muyu originally planned to use her treasure-carving bow to kill a few people, but the coldness on her arm couldn't be dispelled. She couldn't pull the bow with both hands, so she could only give up. Looking at the corpses on the ground, she didn't say anything. She pulled the reins and said, "Sister Chu Yao, let's go. They'll catch up soon. We can't stay here for too long." "You, what about your arm?" Chu Yao urged her horse over. She quickly took out 2 silver needles and sealed 2 acupuncture points on his arm. Then she said, "You just need to circulate your qi to expel the coldness." The sky was filled with stars, and the starlight shone on the Gale Ridge. The two hurriedly prepared to leave, but at this moment, a blood-red shadow suddenly appeared in the darkness. Chu Yao couldn't help but be surprised. "What is that?" Lin Muyu's heart turned cold. "Not good, it's a swift wolf. Let's go." Sure enough, in the next moment, countless swift wolves came down from the mountain. The leading wolf was a huge wolf with a patch of white on its head. It looked much stronger than the other swift wolves. Lin Muyu only needed one glance to determine that this wolf had at least 1,000 years of cultivation. The other swift wolves were mostly around 100 years, but there were too many of them. If they were really surrounded, they would most likely die. They urged their horses to leave quickly. Behind them, the pack of wolves was already biting and devouring the corpses of the mercenaries that died in battle. Xing Lan was a famous expert in this area. Who would have thought that her body would be devoured by the swift wolves after her death? This was really retribution. Roar! Just half a minute after Lin Muyu and Chu Yao urged their horses to leave, the leading wolf suddenly howled. The other swift wolves also let out howls. Then, the sound of the pack of wolves could be heard. "Oh no, they don't want to let us go." Chu Yao clenched her teeth. Lin Muyu quickly circulated her power to force the cold energy on her shoulder away. She said, "Don't worry about anything. Hurry up and leave. I'll bring up the rear. As long as I force out the cold energy that Xing Lan left behind, these swift wolves definitely won't be able to hurt us." Chu Yao urged her horse forward, but she wasn't willing to overtake Lin Muyu. She just stood shoulder to shoulder with him. The sound of the swift wolves running behind them became more and more frequent. They could even hear their panting. The swift wolves were one of the fastest spiritual beasts in the forest. How could the speed of the war horses be compared to them? In a few minutes, they could see the figures of the swift wolves in the forest under the starlight. Chu Yao glanced back and took out 2 silver needles from her robes. With a whoosh, she tossed them out. In the next instant, the 2 swift wolves howled miserably as they rolled around in the shrubbery. They had been blinded by the silver needles and were no longer able to continue their chase. But with 2 dead wolves, the rest of the swift wolves became even more violent. This was especially so for the leading wolf. Its speed was so fast that it was less than 10 meters away from them. Lin Muyu's left arm was still unable to move. She had no choice but to return her sword to its sheath. Then, she raised her hand and threw out a demonic sonic punch. Pang! The wind from the punch landed heavily on the face of the leading wolf. However, the leading wolf was a spiritual beast with more than 1,000 years of cultivation. It was only injured but not killed. With a trace of blood on its face, it continued to chase. Lin Muyu didn't hold back either. She threw out a few more demonic sonic punches, causing the leading wolf's face to be covered in blood. Even its skull had been shattered. At this moment, a howl suddenly came from the side of the forest. Two huge wolves pounced out. "Be careful!" Lin Muyu hurriedly shouted. He didn't expect the swift wolves to be so cunning and know how to outflank them. Chu Yao saw it clearly. She spurred her horse forward and stood in front of Lin Muyu. Her purple martial soul came out and a ball of flame struck one of the huge wolves. However, the other wolf had already leaped onto the horse's back. Its sharp claws tore open the warhorse's butt, causing blood to flow. It opened its mouth and bit towards Chu Yao's back. After all, Chu Yao was already at the first level of the Earth realm. She was very agile. The moment her shoulder was bitten by the wolf's teeth, she stabbed the dagger in her right hand into the wolf's neck. Pooh! Another wolf's corpse fell to the ground. Lin Muyu frowned. Is it badly injured? Chu Yao shook her head. It's fine. Let's go. At this moment, the alpha wolf leaped and pounced towards Lin Muyu's back like lightning. Black tortoise shell. While on the horse, he immediately summoned his martial soul. The dark red azure gourd came out of his body and the black tortoise shell's flame energy quickly gathered. With a bang, the pouncing alpha wolf was repelled. Lin Muyu took the opportunity to strike the alpha wolf's head with lightning strike. Crack! A sword mark could be seen through the alpha wolf's eyes. Its skull was almost completely split open. Flesh and blood flew everywhere. However, the alpha wolf's vitality was so tenacious that it continued to roar and chase. A trace of warmth came from her left arm. Lin Muyu was immediately overjoyed. The cold energy left by Xing Lan had been completely expelled from her body. He opened his hand and grabbed the carved bow. Then, he turned around and fiercely shot the arrow. He poured his real qi into the arrow, and with a whoosh sound, the arrow shot into the eyes of the chieftain wolf like a falling meteor. Ao, the arrow pierced through the eye and into the brain. This time, the alpha wolf couldn't continue to chase. It howled miserably and rolled on the ground. It definitely wouldn't survive. With the alpha wolf dead, the other swift wolves didn't dare to continue chasing. They seemed to have realized that the two in front of them were very terrifying. If they continued to chase, they might lose their lives. Not daring to stop, the two continued to gallop north in the mountains. They didn't stop and ran like this for the whole night. They didn't know how far they were from Scorching Wind Mountain, but at least they could be sure that the mercenaries of Scorching Wind Mountain might not be able to catch up to them. A faint pain came from his shoulder. Lin Muyu urged the horse to gallop slowly and opened up the wound. Xing Lan's spear had almost pierced through his shoulder. The injury was very serious. Chu Yao felt sorry for him. Thus, she tore a strip of cloth from her skirt and bandaged it for him. Chu Yao's shoulder had also been bitten by the swift wolves. She bit on one end of the cloth and bandaged it herself. Lin Muyu couldn't help but blush with shame. Over the past few days, Chu Yao had really changed from that weak herb-gathering girl to a true warrior. While bandaging the wound, Chu Yao raised her head and looked at him. She smiled. "What's wrong?" "Nothing." He quickly turned his face away. Chu Yao giggled. "Idiot." Although he felt that he had been scolded, Lin Muyu felt a faint warmth in his heart. A few hundred miles away from the Seven Stars Forest. The dragon-seeking forest was a deep forest around the capital, Lanyan City. The dragon-seeking forest was filled with demonic beasts. It was every cultivator's dream paradise. However, this forest was completely protected by the capital's military. Only special cultivators or nobles could enter to search for the spiritual beasts they needed. Thud, 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 the intense sound of hooves broke the silence of the dragon-seeking forest. A few hundred cavalrymen were galloping on a small path in the forest. At the front was a beautiful young lady in a dark red cloak. She had an anxious expression on her face as she galloped along the way. "Princess, slow down." A guard caught up to her and said, "The mountain path is rugged, and there are many ferocious beasts in the dragon-seeking forest. Don't wander around recklessly. Otherwise, you won't be able to save that brat called Lin Muyu. You might even lose your life." Tang Xiaoxi's heart was in a mess. She couldn't help but close her eyes. She didn't want to think about what would happen if Lin Muyu couldn't escape the pursuit of the 7 martial saints. At this moment, a bird's cry suddenly came from the sky. A white bird quickly descended from the sky. The guard hurriedly raised his hand and took the letter from the bird's leg. He said, "It's a letter from Silver Fir City. Is there any news?" Tang Xiaoxi didn't wait for the guard to read it. She raised her hand and snatched the letter. There were only 3 lines of words on it. One of the 7 martial saints, Guan Yang, was killed while pursuing Lin Muyu. One of the 7 martial saints, Yi Liang, was killed while pursuing Lin Muyu. Don't worry, princess. He's still alive. Chapter 42. Bang! Hu Tianning, the governor of Cangnan province, flew into a rage and shouted in a low voice, "What did you say? Say it again." He slammed his palm heavily on the desk made of black wood, causing the teacups and documents to fall to the ground. A messenger knelt on one knee in front of him, trembling with fear, said, "Your Excellency, the soldiers of the Flying Mount camp found the bodies of Guan Yang and Yi Liang in the 7 Stars forest." Guan Yang's death was very similar to Hua Tian's. Yi Liang was poisoned and died with his throat cut. His warhorse and weapons were all taken away. A bunch of good-for-nothings, a bunch of good-for-nothings. Hu Tianning's face was ferocious, and he kept inhaling cold air. After a while, he said, "Is the Flying Mount camp still chasing us?" "Yes, but we were attacked by several spirit beasts on the way and lost some men and horses." "How many men and horses were lost?" 300, they encountered a giant python at least 4,000 years old, bastard. Hu Tianning slammed the table again and said, "If I don't kill Lin Muyu, I, Hu Tianning, am not worthy of being the governor of Cangnan province. Write a letter to General Xiang Yu immediately and ask him to set up an inescapable net outside Lanyan City. Once we capture Lin Muyu, we can execute her on the spot." Yes, on the 9th day of exile, in the 7 Stars forest. Chu Yao was washing and changing clothes by a clear stream, while Lin Muyu was herding horses. She opened the map and looked at the marks on it. She frowned and said, "This map. I really don't understand it, but we should not be far from the territory of Lanyan City. We can enter the dragon-seeking forest outside Lanyan City in 1 day at most. Sister Chu Yao, are we going to enter the dragon-seeking forest?" "Yes." Chu Yao wiped the sweat on her forehead and said with a smile, "We are wanted by Cangnan province, so most of the people who want to kill us are also from Cangnan province. Lanyan City is the center of the empire and doesn't belong to any province. As long as we enter the dragon-seeking forest, those wandering mercenaries who want to kill us will be afraid, at least they won't kill so openly." "That's good. Let's go to the dragon-seeking forest immediately after dinner." In order to avoid killing as many people as possible, Lin Muyu chose to escape through the least populated areas. That way, she hadn't met anyone for 2 days, so she wouldn't meet any mercenaries. The food for lunch was very simple. It was still meat soup, but Chu Yao looked at the stream with a sullen expression. "What's wrong?" Lin Muyu asked her with a smile. Chu Yao frowned and said, I've been on the run for so long, but I haven't taken a bath, is that so?" Lin Muyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As a man, He didn't care if his body smelled or not when he was on the run for his life. Chu Yao was a girl after all. She wasn't as careless as him. Then big sister Chu Yao can go wash up. I'll wait for you here, he said. Chu Yao nodded with a smile. I'll take a bath at the hilltop. I'll be back soon. Alright, just shout when you're in danger. Yes. Lin Muyu continued to boil the meat soup in the pot, while Chu Yao carried a change of clothes. The fragrance of the meat soup was getting stronger and stronger. It was still venison. Not long after, Lin Muyu's stomach was growling non-stop. Just as he was considering whether or not to secretly eat a piece of meat, he suddenly heard Chu Yao's scream from the other side of the hill. Something had happened. He quickly rushed over with his sword in hand. Falling star steps made him rush over like a gust of wind. Sweeping over the hilltop, he saw Chu Yao's snow-white body in the stream. She had her back to Lin Muyu, splashing water as she retreated. She shouted, "Go away! Go away!" There was something in the water. Lin Muyu took a big stride forward and leaped into the water. Her sword flashed and the sharp sword chi pierced through the water. Instantly, blood splattered everywhere. In the next moment, the two halves of the water snake's corpse floated up to the surface. Lin Muyu was stunned. Although this water snake was much bigger than ordinary water snakes, it was still harmless to humans and animals, right? Behind him, Chu Yao hugged him tightly. She was so scared that her whole body trembled. Is it dead? Dead? Lin Muyu wanted to cry. Big sister Chu Yao, this is just an ordinary snake. It can't even be considered a spirit beast. You're at the first level of the earth realm. How could you be scared by a snake? Chu Yao pursed her red lips and said pitifully, I'm naturally afraid of squirming things, especially snakes. So when I'm scared, I even forget about my cultivation. As she spoke, she blushed and said, I'm not wearing any clothes. I know, I saw it. What? You saw it? Chu Yao's little heart beat violently. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh and said, Big sister Chu Yao's back is still very beautiful. I won't look at the front. Sink your body into the water. I'll go back now. You should come back quickly to eat too. Okay. Chu Yao slowly lowered her body, while Lin Muyu leapt up and whizzed past the mountain ridge without looking back. Silly boy, Chu Yao looked at his back. She didn't know if she was happy or disappointed. Not long after, Chu Yao came over in a new set of clothes. Her short hair was still a little wet. Lin Muyu looked up and said with a smile, Big sister Chu Yao is indeed a real beauty. Chu Yao blushed. Of course. Hurry up and eat, or the beauty will starve into an old lady. You're asking for a beating, brat. Chu Yao was extremely shy. The two of them quickly ate and then cleaned up the scene. They got on their horses and continued to move forward. Because they had 2 horses, their speed was not slow. A day later, they arrived at the edge of the 7 Stars Forest. An ancient stone tablet was engraved with the words, Dragon-Seeking Forest. Lin Muyu rode past and said with a smile, Finally, we're coming to the legendary capital, Lanyan City. Chu Yao couldn't help laughing. You're dreaming. The dragon-seeking forest almost surrounds the entire Lanyan City. It's very vast. We've only arrived at the dragon-seeking forest. It'll take at least 3 days to enter Lanyan City. Besides, we won't go to Lanyan City. Don't forget that we're felons of the Empire now. There must be our portraits in Lanyan City. Well, we won't go. Let's stay in the dragon-seeking forest. We can come out again after a long time. Okay. As night fell, it seemed that it was no longer necessary to travel quickly. Therefore, the two of them found a call in the mountain range on the border between Sangnan province and the capital as a camp. Lin Muyu set up a simple tent so that Chu Yao had a place to lie down. She picked up dry firewood, raised a bonfire, and cooked the meat soup. The night breeze was exceptionally quiet. Taking advantage of the night, he practiced a set of magic noise fist, then practiced the routine of magic noise saber, and then practiced the wind-riding swordsmanship with his sword. Chu Yao sat on a rock and watched him practice with a smile. This diligent little junior brother really surprised her. Watching him practice seemed to have become a kind of enjoyment for Chu Yao. Gulp. Gulp, the aroma of the meat soup filled the air. Chu Yao giggled and said, It's time to eat. Okay. Lin Muyu smiled slightly and stopped practicing. However, at this moment, he suddenly sensed two extremely strong forces entering the surrounding area. He quickly rushed over and covered Chu Yao's small mouth, saying, "Someone's coming." As he said that, he carried her waist and landed in the grass not far away in a few leaps. He hid in the grass and looked at everything in the distance. At the same time, he lowered his voice and said, "Lower your aura and strength. Don't use your martial arts. It's best if you can hold your breath. Try not to emit your strength and aura." Chu Yao did as she was told. It was not difficult for her to do this with her meticulous mind. Lin Muyu also stopped breathing and lowered his strength to the lowest state, just like an ordinary person. This way, it would be difficult for others to sense his presence. A few minutes later, two figures flew down from the mountain range at an astonishing speed. These two people's movement techniques were not bad. Their walking speed was comparable to riding a horse. Moreover, the two of them looked exactly the same. It was just that their weapons were different. One was holding a longbow and the other was holding a snake spear. Their faces were filled with ruthlessness and killing intent. Found them. The person holding the snake spear said in a low voice, "Brother, don't act rashly. They should be in the tent." The person holding the bow sneered, "Run too, wait for Big Brother to make a few holes in them. Have a taste of my 4 consecutive arrows." Okay. The person holding the bow quickly took out an arrow from his quiver. With a "so" sound, he went straight to the tent. With lightning speed, he took out 3 arrows in a row and shot them one by one. With a "pu-pu" sound, 4 transparent holes appeared on the tent. This kind of cultivation was indeed very shocking. He could be considered as an extraordinary cultivator in archery. The person holding the spear roared and rushed over. The spear fiercely smashed down and raged with flames. Pang! The tent was instantly torn into pieces and completely turned into a pile of ashes. "They're not here?" The person holding the bow was stunned. "They couldn't have already left, right? Continue to chase." Okay. The two of them shot out like lightning. Their movements were so agile that it was somewhat shocking. When the two of them disappeared from sight, Lin Muyu let out a sigh of relief and said, "Who are these people?" Chu Yao took a deep breath. "Ah. Twin cultivators. They should be the twin saints of the 7 martial saints. Let's hurry and get the horses. We can't stay here for the night." Okay. The two of them quickly went to get the horses. This time, Lin Muyu was vigilant. Her spirit sense was spread out in all directions and she suddenly felt the aura in the distance increase rapidly. She hurriedly said, "Sister Chu Yao, be careful. They're back." As she said this, the sound of wind breaking could be heard. Lin Muyu hurriedly pushed out with her palm. The black tortoise shell surged in front of her. Keng keng keng, 3 consecutive shots were fired. The 3 arrows shot by the opponent were all deflected. This time, she was not ambushed. In the darkness, 2 people slowly walked over. The person holding the bow laughed coldly. "The legendary Lin Muyu does have some ability. You were actually able to dodge my 3 consecutive shots. You really are not simple." Dang! Lin Muyu pulled out the burning prairie sword and said indifferently, "Who are you?" The person holding the bow laughed coldly, one of the 7 martial saints, Song Bafu. The person holding the spear also laughed, one of the 7 martial saints, Song Rentu. Chapter 43. Cool breeze intoxication, I'll buy you some time. Lin Muyu's soft voice drifted into Chu Yao's ears along with the wind. Chu Yao did as he was told and quietly poured a bottle of cool breeze intoxication on the grass. Coincidentally, he was in a good position, so the smell of the cool breeze intoxication drifted towards the two of them, but they didn't seem to notice it at all. 7 martial saints again? Lin Muyu frowned and didn't draw his sword. He just stood there quietly and said, "Ever since I left Silver Fir City, I haven't offended anyone. Actually, there's no need for you to hunt me down like this. If there's anything valuable on me, I'll naturally give it to you too. The only thing I want right now is to stay alive." He said so much just to buy time. After all, he was still injured. His chest was pierced by Yi Liang's arrow, and he hadn't even fully recovered when he was stabbed by the Scorching Wind mercenary team's leader. Both of them were powerful enemies. Song Rentu and Song Bafu both had a faint aura around their bodies, which proved that they were battle saints above level 50. One of them was already very difficult to deal with, but with 2 of them, Lin Muyu didn't stand a chance at all. Therefore, he had to wait for the cool breeze intoxication to take effect, and this process would take at least 5 minutes. Is that so? Song Bafu slowly drew his longbow and placed 2 arrows on the bowstring. He raised his eyebrows and smiled. "Is there anything on you that's more valuable than this head on your neck?" "Of course there is." Lin Muyu's heart almost jumped out of his throat. He raised his hand and pulled out 4 flying knives from his waist. With a light breath of true energy, the flying knives immediately spiraled in his palm and combined into a 4-wheeled flying knife. He smiled and said, "Look, this is the weapon that Fire Cauldron Chu Chu gave me. It's a type of hidden weapon called the Demonic Noise Knife. It's a weapon inherited from a famous general, Feng Yicheng. You two should have heard of Feng Yicheng's great name, right? Brat, don't be delusional. Do you think you can fool us?" Song Rentu raised his spear and lightly said, "I think you're just trying to stall for time. Feng Yicheng is a famous general, a pillar of the empire. How could his weapon be in the hands of a nobody like you? Believe it or not, it's up to you. Anyway, Fire Cauldron Chu Chu gave it to me, and Fire Cauldron Chu Chu is Feng Yicheng's best friend." Lin Muyu's voice rose by a decibel. Song Bafu wavered. "Is it really Feng Yicheng's weapon? How could it be fake?" Lin Muyu smiled slightly and raised the long sword in her right hand, saying, "This sword's name is Prairie Fire, and it came from one of the 7 martial saints, Yi Liang. You should have heard of it, right?" Song Rentu's eyes turned cold as he said, "Brat, you really did kill Yi Liang and took his warhorse and weapon." Although these 2 brothers were also 2 of the 7 martial saints, they could not compare to Yi Liang's family background. Yi Liang could be said to be extremely wealthy, so it was not a problem at all for him to purchase a soul-refined Prairie Fire sword. However, Song Rentu and Song Bafu were born as commoners, so it was like a dream for them to own a soul-refined weapon like this. Their weapons were at most superior. It really is Prairie Fire. Song Bafu's eyes were already filled with greed as he licked his lips and laughed. "You can wear out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. Legend has it that Prairie Fire sword is a grade 3 spirit weapon, and it's actually in this brat's hands. Little brother, we've struck it rich this time. This Prairie Fire sword can be sold for at least 10,000 Jianghu coins, ha ha ha, don't be in such a hurry." Lin Muyu laughed and sheathed the Prairie Fire sword, saying, "I haven't even said that I'm going to give it to you guys." Song Rentu's eyes flashed with fierceness as he laughed, "That's not up to you. Do you want to give it to us or not? When us 2 brothers cut off your and this little girl's heads, naturally these treasures will belong to us. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh, saying, "Do you really think you can beat me?" As he spoke, he suddenly let out a low roar and the martial spirit gourd came out of his body. Song Ren too couldn't help but laugh. "Oh, so it's a grade 10 green gourd. A support-type martial spirit actually dares to be so ostentatious. Brat, the martial spirit you revealed really scared Grandpa to death. Is that so?" The corner of Lin Muyu's mouth curled up into a smile as he slowly increased the strength of his true energy and poured it into the martial spirit. The green gourd's color rapidly changed from green to silver, then to blue, and finally to red. This was the transformation of the 4 levels of power, and at the same time, this also meant that the martial spirit had obtained 4 skills. How is this possible? Song Bafu's mouth opened wide. This brat's martial spirit is only at the 4th level, but he actually absorbed 4 martial spirit skills? 1 skill per level, how is this possible? Even the strongest martial god of the empire wouldn't have this kind of luck, right? Of course, there was a chance for the martial spirit to absorb skills. Some experts with great attainments not only had absolute strength, but luck was also a very important factor. People with extremely good luck could absorb skills in succession and increase their cultivation by a large margin. This was also the reason why Song Bafu was so shocked. It's not over yet. Lin Muyu seemed to be deliberately showing off as he suddenly raised his left hand and struck the air in the distance. With a pang sound, a large boulder was immediately shattered into pieces. His cultivation had long since changed from before. Song Rentu's face was filled with shock. He had never seen such a mysterious martial art before. This is... Song Bafu was more knowledgeable and his eyes turned cold. Demonic Sound Fist. This is the Fire Cauldron Chu Chu's unique skill, Demonic Sound Fist. Goddamn brat, did you take the Fire Cauldron Chu Chu as your master? Didn't that old geezer say that he would never accept a disciple in his lifetime? Who are you to the Fire Cauldron Chu Chu? I'm Chu Chu's student. Lin Muyu spoke indifferently. If the 2 of you are really sensible, then hurry up and leave. Take advantage of the fact that I don't want your lives right now. Otherwise, not only will you offend me, but you'll also offend Fire Cauldron Chu Chu. Once he finds out about this, do you think he'll let the 2 of you go? Song Rentu was a bit timid. But Song Bafu's face was filled with greed and determination. He sneered, "It doesn't matter, the dead can't talk. Little brother, get ready." Yes. The 2 summoned their martial spirits. Sure enough, they were of the same origin. The 2 brothers' martial spirits were black bears, extremely powerful beast spirits. "You, be careful," Chu Yao said softly. Lin Muyu gently waved his hand, signaling Chu Yao not to make a move. He can do it himself. Slowly increasing his Jin Qi, the green gourd martial spirit's red luster became more intense. At the same time, gourd vines rose up to protect the outer walls of the gourd, and beyond that was the fiery red-black tortoise shell. This time, Lin Muyu didn't have a choice. 1 against 2, he had to use defensive tactics because the green gourd martial spirit wasn't good at attacking, but with the black tortoise shell, its defense was greatly increased. He needed time. As long as the clear breeze intoxication took effect, he would be able to defeat the 2 in front of him. But there should still be a minute or 2 left. Kill! Song Bafu roared. 3 arrows shot out like meteors. The arrows cut through the air in a very clear trajectory, and the power of the black bear martial spirit lingered around the arrows, making them look even more indestructible. Peng peng, 2 loud sounds. Lin Muyu's body trembled slightly, and a crack appeared on the black tortoise shell. Fortunately, the defense was not bad, and it didn't immediately collapse. He quickly raised his hand, and 4 flying knives flew out together. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, with a biting cold killing intent in the air. Song Bafu could only move to dodge with his longbow. He couldn't stand still and shoot arrows. The fiery red-black tortoise shell lingered around Lin Muyu, and he even condensed most of his Jin Qi into a green rock armor close to his skin to protect himself. It was a pity that he didn't see iron pear flower along the way, otherwise, it would be more perfect to refine some stone skin potion. Courting death. Song Rentu shouted, holding a spear and stabbing over. The spear was surrounded by a fiery red flame. From the side, it was a sudden attack. Suddenly, a gap appeared on the black tortoise shell. This Song Rentu's strength was stronger than his brother's. There was a sweet taste in his throat, and Lin Muyu secretly complained. Just one attack was enough to make his qi and blood surge. Such an opponent was indeed very difficult to deal with. In the blink of an eye, the wall of the gourd had been stabbed 7 or 8 times, and it was already full of holes. Puchi. Song Rentu once again made a tricky attack, and instantly broke through the defense of the black tortoise shell. The tip of the spear pierced through 2 layers of the wall formed by the gourd vines, and with a puchi sound, it passed by Lin Muyu's neck, leaving a horrifying bloodstain on his skin. Fortunately, Lin Muyu dodged quickly, or else his throat would have been pierced by the spear. His heart was cold, and his Jin Qi actually produced a sense of powerlessness, and he was almost unable to raise his Jin Qi. At this time, the sound of Chu Yao's silver needles pierced through the air, and landed on Song Rentu's Qi armor one after another, bursting into sparks. Still not dead? Song Rentu burst into laughter, and the sparks on his spear skyrocketed. Ignoring Chu Yao's attack, he aimed at Lin Muyu's chest with a determined strike. Pooh! A hand grabbed the head of the spear, and blood immediately spread. Lin Muyu endured the excruciating pain to prevent the spear from piercing into her chest. At the same time, she raised her sword and slashed at the middle of the spear. With a clang, sparks flew, but the spear could not be cut off. It only left a mark about 1 centimeter deep. The sharpness of the burning prairie sword was not enough to cut this pure iron spear. Die! Song Rentu's face was full of viciousness. With a roar, he straightened the spear, and the tip of the spear slowly pierced into Lin Muyu's chest, about 3 centimeters deep. At the moment of life and death, Lin Muyu felt that a stream of fire was surging in the burning prairie sword. It was the effect of soul refining. When its master was about to die, the beast's soul in the burning prairie sword was trying to save its master. With a bestial roar, the energy of a fierce fire tiger pounced out of the burning prairie sword and pierced through Song Rentu's chest. Pooh! Song Rentu's eyes widened, and he slowly fell backward. A huge bloody hole appeared in his chest. This was the power of a third-stage spiritual weapon. Brother! Song Bafu was shocked, and he hurriedly pulled the longbow. Suddenly, he felt that his vision was blurred, and the Jin Qi in his arms was quickly draining. He could not even pull the bow. What's going on? He was already shocked. Chapter 44. Plop. Song Bafu weakly knelt on the ground. Spirit tools and 100,000 Jinin coins were already in the past. At this moment, there was nothing more important than surviving. In his blurred vision, he saw that his twin brother had already fallen to the ground with a frightening bloody hole in his chest. Song Rentu, dead. Song Bafu could only run for his life. He waved his arms and crawled on the grass, even abandoning the longbow he carried with him. However, his true qi and strength were constantly flowing away in the clear wind drunk, and he didn't even have the strength to crawl and escape. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and sat on the ground. In order to defend against the 2 experts' attacks, he had almost instantly consumed more than half of his true qi. His martial spirit was seriously injured, so his internal organs were also affected, and his aura was unstable. Chu Yao stood up and probed Song Rentu's aura, saying, "He's dead, what about the other one?" Lin Muyu sat there quietly and said, "We have already killed many people, but if we let Song Bafu escape, he will definitely find an opportunity to take revenge on us. Big sister Chuyao, you do as you see fit. I am very tired now, and my whole body can't lift an ounce of strength. The expression in Chuyao's eyes became more firm and decisive. She stood up and grabbed the spear that was stained with Lin Muyu's blood. She jumped up and directly pierced the back of Song Bafu, who was crawling on the ground. Blood suddenly spurted out, and Song Bafu's body trembled violently under the pain. His limbs danced frantically, but Chuyao gritted her teeth and quickly used her strength to insert half of the iron spear into the ground, nailing Song Bafu to the ground and letting him wait for death. She slowly turned around, her short hair gently swaying in the night wind. Her face no longer had the innocence and immaturity of a little girl, but instead had a bit more steadiness and determination. Lin Muyu looked up at her speechlessly, but her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. What kind of world made Chuyao like this? If it wasn't for these people endlessly chasing after them for Jinin coins, perhaps Chuyao would not be like this now. Of course, the death of Chu Feng's grandfather was also a big blow to Chuyao. Looking at the soup pot on the side, Chuyao turned to him and smiled warmly. Fortunately, our dinner was not affected by the battle. Let's eat first. You're injured, how about we leave tomorrow? Lin Muyu nodded, whatever sister says. Okay. After eating and warming up, Lin Muyu leaned against the stone wall and circulated his qi to heal his injuries. Then, he refined some medicine to treat his internal injuries. His injuries were too serious, so he needed to nurse his body to the best of his ability. Otherwise, it would be the end of him if he was left with internal injuries or disabilities. To a martial artist, what was more valuable than a healthy body? He did not cultivate much that night. The main thing he did was to recover from his injuries. Lin Muyu leaned against the stone wall, his mind replaying the many experiences he had experienced in the past few days. After coming to this world, it seemed that killing and being hunted had become a normal thing. He was deeply opposed to killing, but now that there were two corpses lying not far from him, he was actually used to it. Then, he thought of Tang Xiaoxi. What would this beautiful and kind little princess be doing? If she knew that he had become a serious criminal of the empire, how would she react? Suddenly, Tang Xiaoxi's sleeping face under the moonlight appeared in his mind. It was so beautiful and tranquil. She was probably the most beautiful girl he had ever seen in his life. There was a faint burning pain from his wounds. He stopped thinking about it and went to sleep. The vital energy in his body was almost depleted in the battle, so he had to rest and recover as soon as possible. Who knew how many more dangers were waiting for him on the road ahead? In the blink of an eye, it was already dawn. The faint howls of wolves could be heard in the distance in the forest. Suddenly, Lin Muyu woke up from his sleep. There was a faint pain in his heart, but he did not know what had happened. He could only grit his teeth and continue to force himself to sleep, but he could not fall asleep no matter what. At the same time, deep in the dragon-seeking forest, piles of bonfires were burning the last of their energy in a small valley. Almost everyone was asleep, except for 7 or 8 guards who were leaning against a tree with their eyes closed. They had been in the dragon-seeking forest for several days, but there had been no news of Lin Muyu. In fact, everyone wanted to go back to the capital to enjoy life, but the willful little princess was unwilling. The fire danced and flickered on the girl's beautiful face. Tang Xiaoxi was lying in a blanket, which wrapped her delicate body. Her body was slightly shivering. The late night of autumn was very cold, and it was obvious that a blanket was not enough to keep out the cold. She opened her eyes slowly. Her dark eyes were as deep and beautiful as gemstones. She looked at the stars in the sky and suddenly felt very cold. Her heart felt as if it was stabbed by a knife. She sobbed silently, and tears swirled in her eyes. She called out softly, "Mu. Where are you? Don't die, you must wait for me." So. Two soft sounds came from the night sky, followed by two put-ong sounds. Two guards who were standing guard slowly fell down. There was a black arrow pierced through their hearts. Moreover, it was a steel arrow. A king-level expert who was killed at close range. Assassin! Someone shouted. That voice stopped abruptly in the cold night, as if someone's throat had been cut. A cold light flashed in the night. Tang Xiaoxi jumped up in alarm. The Firefox martial soul came out of her body, and at the same time, she grabbed the long sword and sheath beside the rock to block. Keng, the sound of metal clashing could be heard. The other party used a long sword, and it was a masked man. Only a pair of emotionless eyes could be seen. When his attack missed, he immediately lowered his body and swept his leg. Tang Xiaoxi gritted her teeth and said angrily, "Who are you people? How dare you sneak attack people from the Seven Seas City's Duke's mansion?" At the same time, she raised her slender snow-white leg. Flames quickly lingered around it, and with a "kacha" sound, she stepped down, directly breaking the assassin's leg sweep. Moreover, with her extraordinary strength, she broke his calf. The assassin did not say a word and turned around to slash again. However, Tang Xiaoxi's speed was even faster. With a flick of her wrist, the scabbard left her hand, and a smear of blood flew out. The assassin's throat had already been slit. Waves of miserable screams came from the surroundings. More than 10 guards quickly approached and shouted, "Protect the princess! Protect the princess!" But the arrows flew out, and people fell one after another. In the blink of an eye, nearly 100 people from the guard camp had died. However, those arrows seemed to have grown eyes, and did not shoot at Tang Xiaoxi. It was as if they were deliberately avoiding her. These people wanted to capture her alive. Tang Xiaoxi's heart was as clear as a mirror. She suddenly opened her arms, and the light of the fire fox rose from the sky, forming a flame impact that swept across the area. Suddenly, 4 assassins fell to the ground and died, howling. "Let's rush out." Tang Xiaoxi was the strongest among this group of guards, so she took the lead to rush out with the others. "Don't let them escape. Capture the princess of Seven Seas City alive." A cold voice came from the mountain ridge on the right, which made Tang Xiaoxi's heart cold. Behind her, a guard with a heavy shield kept blocking the arrows. He raised his true chi and growled, "Who are you people? Why did you sneak attack us?" In the crowd, a masked man laughed loudly, "People who are about to die don't need to know so much." However, Tang Xiaoxi said coldly, "You are from the House of Chivalry, right?" "Oh, as expected of the second most beautiful woman in Lanyan City, Tang Xiaoxi. You are so smart. This trip was not in vain." In the darkness, an unusually sharp voice laughed. "Capture Tang Xiaoxi alive, and you will be rewarded with 500,000 Jin coins. As for those insignificant people, send them on their way. They are no longer of any value." At least a few hundred people dressed in black with swords in their hands rushed over from all directions. Tang Xiaoxi's heart was cold. She looked at the group of guards apologetically and said with a trembling voice, "I'm sorry. I caused you to lose your lives here. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have acted on my own. I'm sorry." One of the guards had a resolute look in his eyes as he said, "Princess Shi, this isn't your fault. It's just that the House of Chivalry actually dared to target you. They're truly audacious. As long as we kill our way out, the Grand Duke will definitely mobilize his army and flatten every House of Chivalry on this mainland. These bastards are committing treason. Before he could finish speaking, his throat was suddenly pierced by a sharp arrow. He could no longer speak and fell straight to the ground. The strongest among the group of guards was only at the first heaven of the earth realm. There was no way they could defend against so many people from the House of Chivalry. "Princess, we will cover your retreat. Your fire fox has the ability to increase speed. Moreover, we are in the forest. They definitely won't be able to catch up to you. Let's go. A guard rushed over with his heavy shield. He hid his head under the shield, but his legs were continuously hit by arrows. He staggered and almost fell to the ground again and again, but he still maintained his forward momentum. The other dozen guards also rushed over. They knew that they would die, but there was no other way. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were red. Her heart was filled with regret and hatred. The fire fox martial spirit chirped softly on her shoulder as if it was comforting its little master. In the next moment, Tang Xiaoxi launched another flame strike. She raised her sword and leaped up. The fire fox roared wildly. Flames appeared under her feet. Although her speed was not as fast as Falling Star's steps, it was enough to shake off the House of Chivalry's wanderers. Screams came from behind her. The guards fell to the ground and died. Tang Xiaoxi felt as if thousands of arrows had pierced her heart. Tears fell in the night wind. She rushed in the direction of Lanyan City without looking back. She knew that she could no longer save Lin Muyu. She did not even know if she could make it back alive. The thorns tore through her luxurious clothes and pierced her skin. However, Tang Xiaoxi did not seem to feel any pain. She controlled the fire fox martial spirit and rushed into the distance of the dragon-seeking forest. Behind her, the sounds of people chasing after her did not stop. After the people from the House of Chivalry discovered the fire fox's ability to increase speed, they regretted it. They even shot arrows at her again and again. Pfft! She suddenly felt a burning sensation on her back. Tang Xiaoxi staggered and almost fell to the ground. Her back began to hurt. She had been hit by an arrow. Chapter 45. The dragon-seeking forest was a quiet and deep forest surrounding the imperial capital, Lanyan City. There were many types of spirit beasts in the dragon-seeking forest, and it was said that someone had once seen a spirit beast with a lifespan of 100,000 years in the dragon-seeking forest. That was a powerful existence that only those who had stepped into the godly state could face. However, this was only a legend. However, the dragon-seeking forest was still protected by the imperial army, and commoners were forbidden from entering. Firstly, it was to protect the safety of the commoners, and secondly, the rich resources and spirit beasts in the dragon-seeking forest were all provided to the nobles for their enjoyment. Dragon Forging Valley was a valley in the southwest of the dragon-seeking forest. There lived some spirit beasts that were hundreds or even thousands of years old. This place was also reared by the imperial family, and became the legendary Imperial King's hunting ground. On this day, the Dragon Forging Valley was very lively. Banners fluttered in the wind, covering the sky. Countless armored soldiers gathered here, and the sound of horse hooves shook the entire valley. The army clustered around a group of people dressed in luxurious clothes. In the center, a golden luxurious carriage was parked in the middle of the forest. Even the wheels of the carriage were inlaid with gems in the shape of a dragon and a purpline flower. The dragon symbolized supreme power, and the purpline flower was the emblem of the Qin family, and also the emblem of the entire empire. Rustle, rustle, the gold-inlaid curtain of the carriage was slowly lifted, revealing the face of a middle-aged man around 50 years old. His expression was slightly haggard, but he wore a golden crown on his head, and his eyes were sharp. This person was the emperor of the Qin Empire, Radiant Prince Qin Jin. Where did Xiao Yin go? Qin Jin asked indifferently. Beside the carriage, a general riding on a black warhorse cupped his fists and said, "Reporting to your majesty, Her Highness brought a group of guards to chase after a 3,000-year-old umbrella dragon." "Oh, umbrella dragon?" The emperor frowned. "Are there enough guards to go with them? The dragon-seeking forest is so dangerous. Tell Xiao Yin to be careful and not to run out of the hunting ground." "Yes, your majesty." Commander Feng Jixing of the Imperial Army has already personally brought people over. Your Majesty, please be at ease. That's good. Sha sha sha, in the forest, an umbrella dragon was panting as it ran. Its back was riddled with arrows, and it was bleeding profusely. The umbrella dragon was one of the lower ranks of the dragon species. It was also an earth dragon, a type of pseudo-dragon. It was not even considered a true dragon, but this umbrella dragon had already cultivated for 3,000 years. Its head was shaped like an umbrella, with 3 golden veins extending from it. Pooh! The umbrella dragon became even more enraged after being shot in the butt. Its eyes turned fierce as it spat out flames and charged at the attacker. The branches and leaves parted, and a white horse appeared in sight. The girl on the horse was extremely beautiful. She wore a dark blue cloak embroidered with golden dragon patterns. The cloak wrapped around her delicate and exquisite figure, while the hood was casually scattered behind her head, revealing her long black hair. Her delicate face was like carved jade, and the corners of her mouth carried a gentle smile that surpassed thousands of stars. She was like a beautiful piece of jade that had landed in this dangerous forest. Your Highness, be careful. You are running too fast, the guard behind her shouted. But Qin Yin did not care so much. She spurred her horse and charged at the injured umbrella dragon. She smiled and said, "Little umbrella dragon, surrender obediently, and I will grant you a quick death." The umbrella dragon roared and suddenly leaped into the air. Its sharp claws were covered in flames as it attacked the Empire's princess. Qin Yin was slightly taken aback, but she calmly waved her palm and said, still not admitting defeat? God-binding chains. Pang! With a loud bang, golden light shone brightly. A golden chain that was several meters long broke through the ground and directly smashed into the umbrella dragon's abdomen. It actually caused a hole in it. Moreover, the golden chain was surrounded by dense golden runes. Those were ancient characters. The attack power of this martial soul was so shocking that it had long surpassed the understanding of ordinary cultivators. God-binding chains was a first-grade martial soul. It was the inherited martial soul of the Empire's Qin bloodline. Once one comprehended the God-binding chains, it meant that one would become an expert of the generation. And Qin Yin was one of the few descendants of the Qin clan in this generation who had awakened the God-binding chains martial soul. Roar roar, under the attack of the God-binding chains, the umbrella dragon howled miserably. It did not dare to attack anymore. It twisted its butt and burrowed into the dense forest. It was a thistle forest, and in an instant, its injured scales were cut open with streaks of blood. Seeing that umbrella dragon had run off again, Qin Yin pouted angrily. She quickly turned her horse around, intending to take a detour and chase after him. She said, "Don't go. If you're a real man, stay and fight me for 300 rounds." At this time, a person galloped over on a horse. He was dressed in golden armor and held a shiny broadsword in his hand. He laughed and said, "Your Highness Yin, I've finally found you." The newcomer had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was extremely handsome, and his entire body was brimming with a very bright heroic spirit. "Oh, it's General Feng." Qin Yin smiled slightly. "That umbrella dragon has run away again. I must chase it down today. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't even have the mood to eat dinner." Feng Jixing didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He cupped his fists and said, "Your Highness, if you don't eat, won't His Majesty be heartbroken? Moreover, we're almost out of the hunting grounds. It's a little dangerous." "Don't worry, Your Highness. Why don't you let me help you capture this umbrella dragon alive?" Qin Yin's starry eyes swept across his face. She hesitated for a few seconds and said, "I don't trust you. How about this? We'll split up. You go from the north, and I'll go from the south. Let's see who can capture this umbrella dragon first. Feng Jixing didn't dare to look at this indescribably beautiful imperial princess in the eye. He hurriedly held his broadsword horizontally and performed an imperial military salute. He said, "Yes, Your Highness." This subordinate obeys. Thick brambles blocked the way. The sky was a little dark, and it was almost dusk. Lin Muyu was a little anxious. She carried the burning prairie sword and cut through the brambles to open a path. Suddenly, she turned around and said, "Sister Chuyao, we must pass through here before it gets dark and find a place to rest. According to the marks on the map, we might be able to reach Lanyan City tonight." Chuyao leisurely rode on a fine horse. Her breath surrounded her body. She slowly opened her beautiful eyes and said with a smile, "Don't worry, you. If it's not really necessary, we don't have to enter the imperial city at all. After all, there might still be our notice on the city gate." Lin Muyu touched the stubble on her chin and said with a smile, "No, I haven't shaved for so many days. I'm afraid I'm a completely different person from the person on the notice." "Sister, you've also cut your hair short. I don't think anyone will recognize us even if we enter the city. Besides, even if they recognize us, we can just deny it." Chuyao couldn't help but smile. You're getting bolder." Lin Muyu angrily cut through the brambles and said, "This is the 11th day of our exile. What I want to do most now is to take a hot bath and then sleep in a warm bed. Sister Chuyao, don't you want to live a normal life?" "I want to, but I'm afraid it's an extravagant wish for us now," Chuyao said quietly. Suddenly, she raised her head again and said with a smile, Your cultivation speed has always been 10 times faster than ordinary people, but after you stepped into the second level of the Earth realm, there hasn't been any movement. How is it? Do you feel like you're about to break through?" Lin Muyu nodded. "Yes, since yesterday, every time I cultivate, I can't feel the growth of my true qi. I should have reached a bottleneck, but I haven't met a suitable spirit beast, so I can only leave it to fate. It would be great if a suitable spirit beast of 3,000 to 4,000 years came to my door, but my injuries haven't completely healed. If I really meet a spirit beast of 3,000 years or more, I don't seem to be able to beat it. I'm afraid I'll lose my life for nothing." Chuyao giggled. "Then you'll have to cultivate slowly. Many people spend their entire lives cultivating and still can't break through rank 50. You're so young, and you've reached rank 49 in less than a month. In the eyes of ordinary people, you're a genius that only appears once in 10,000 years." Lin Muyu grinned but didn't say anything. In fact, he didn't tell Chuyao that he was using a cheat. Moreover, he still had a portion of the 7 luminaries' demon emperor's profound energy left behind in his body. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to advance so quickly. Not long after, they passed through the thorny forest. Just as Lin Muyu was about to mount his horse, a wild beast roared in the distance. Unexpectedly, a spirit beast with its head spread open like an umbrella was approaching. "That's..." he asked with some surprise. But Chuyao's eyes lit up. "I've seen this kind of spirit beast in Kathaya City's library. It's an umbrella dragon. Heavens, 3 golden lines and 2 yin lines on its head. This is a 3,200-year umbrella dragon, and it seems to be injured. Your chance is here. Prepare to attack." Amen. Lin Muyu didn't care if the umbrella dragon was injured or not. She raised her hand and summoned her martial soul. Immediately, gourd vines whooshed across the ground and quickly wrapped around the umbrella dragon. In the next moment, the demonic noise blade flew out and struck 3 times in a row, leaving 3 deep wounds on the umbrella dragon's neck. This umbrella dragon was already on the brink of death. What else could it possibly be unwilling to die? It had died indirectly at the hands of the Empire's princess, but in the end, a brat had appeared out of nowhere to finish it off. At this moment, the umbrella dragon's intestines were turning green with regret. If it had known this would happen, it wouldn't have run away. It would have been better if it had died at the hands of that peerless beauty. Clang! The burning prairie sword was unsheathed. Lin Muyu used the star steps and charged forward at top speed. She used the exquisite butterfly steps to dodge the umbrella dragon's surekill flame spray. Lightning and fire intertwined on the blade as she slashed down viciously from the side. Gotcha! This time, half of the umbrella dragon's head was crooked. It looked like it was about to be decapitated. Lin Muyu pulled back her longsword and stabbed it violently again. The blade pierced the spirit beast's heart, and a steady stream of fiery energy seeped out and set the grass on fire. The umbrella dragon howled in pain and regret as it knelt before the nameless brat's sword. Chapter 46. Hot flames rose up and hovered above the umbrella dragon's corpse. This was the 3,200-year-old umbrella dragon's beast spirit, which was also the essence of its body. You, hurry up, now. Okay. Lin Muyu quickly summoned his martial soul. The red gourd quickly grew bigger and started to absorb the umbrella dragon's beast spirit greedily. At the same time, Lin Muyu summoned the crafting cauldron. The cauldron turned into an energy form and enveloped Lin Muyu and the spirit beast. Lulu flapped her transparent wings and flew out. She giggled and said, "Brother, it's not easy to completely refine this beast spirit. You still need enough water to cool down the flames in the umbrella dragon's beast spirit." Okay. Lin Muyu turned his gaze and said to Chu Yao, "Sister, help me get some water." Okay. They passed by a small stream on their way here. Chu Yao immediately took a water bag and went there. 10 minutes later, she returned and poured the water in the water bag into the energy halo in the air. The water moved with the wind and slowly evaporated. It was very novel. Chu Yao had seen people refine beast spirits before, but she had never seen Lin Muyu refine it in such a way. The water continued to cool down the rampaging energy within the beast spirit. Lin Muyu opened his arms wide and his Zhenqi morphed into a giant hand that moved back and forth within the beast spirit. He wanted to find the most essential part of the beast spirit. Only by refining that part would he be able to obtain the spirit beast skills. After nearly 20 minutes, he finally found a very thick beast spirit. It was very pure. When Lin Muyu tried to grab it, he was hit by a very strong counterattack. Soon, his forehead was covered in sweat, but he did not give up. After nearly 5 minutes of struggle, the power finally surrendered to the crafting cauldron. Phew! Taking a deep breath, Lin Muyu opened her eyes. The treasure refining cauldron transformed into a cloud of smoke. The umbrella dragon's beast spirit had been completely refined by her and she had obtained a new skill. Congratulations, brother. This skill is called Dragon Scale Barrier. What do you want to name it? Lulu said with a smile. Let's call it Dragon Scale Wall. Okay. At this time, the gourd had turned orange. Lin Muyu shouted and a thick dragon power surged to the gourd wall. It formed an orange scale defense around the gourd wall. It was the dragon scale wall. This meant that Lin Muyu's defense had increased a lot. The dragon scale wall had to break the mystic tortoise shell first and then the dragon scale wall to be able to hurt him. The dragon scale wall was much stronger than the mystic tortoise shell. At the same time, he took a deep breath. After raising his chi, he suddenly swung his fist. He felt a mysterious power slowly condensing on his arm, forming a layer of chi armor that protected his right arm. It's the chi armor. Chu Yao said with a smile. Congratulations, you. You've reached the 3rd level of the Earth Realm. You should be a level 50 battle saint now. Lin Muyu was also happy. Happiness came too suddenly. If this umbrella dragon wasn't injured, she probably wouldn't have the chance to subdue it. She might even be eaten by it. At this time, the sound of horse hooves came from afar. A general in golden armor rushed over with a broadsword in his hand. His eyes were fixed on the umbrella dragon's corpse. Feng Jixing dismounted from his horse. His expression was very serious, and his grip on the broadsword tightened. "This umbrella dragon, was you the one who killed it?" He looked at Lin Muyu coldly. Lin Muyu's expression also became serious. She knew that this person was not a kind person. She couldn't even fathom the aura on his body. It was as if she couldn't see through this person's power. Lin Muyu stepped forward and stood in front of Chu Yao. "That's right. I killed it. I've also refined the beast spirit." "You've completely refined the 3,200-year-old umbrella dragon's beast spirit?" Feng Jixing raised his head and looked at her. He sneered. "Not bad. Looks like you're quite lucky." Lin Muyu said, "Yes, but do you know who this spirit beast belongs to?" Feng Jixing's expression changed. "You even dare to steal Her Highness Yin's prey. Brat, you're really not afraid of death." Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the burning prairie sword. "I'm sorry. I didn't know that this spirit beast was injured because it was being chased. But if you want to kill me, it won't be that easy." "Is that so?" Feng Jixing smiled. Milky white energy flowed slowly on the blade. The white cloak behind him moved even though there was no wind. This white cloak was very well made. Lin Muyu found it familiar, but she couldn't remember where she'd seen it before. Chu Yao noticed something and said in shock, "White true energy, it's battle energy. Heavens, this person can use battle energy. He's a heavenly realm expert." White Douqi was the symbol of power. All cultivators had to break through level 60 and step into the heaven realm to be able to transform their true qi into the even more powerful Douqi. In the Qin Empire, those who could summon Douqi could already be ranked among the top experts. Feng Jixing's lips curled up. Heavenly Realm level 64, Feng Jixing. Thank you for your guidance. Lin Muyu had already summoned the gourd wall. Earth Realm level 50, Lin Muyu. Please enlighten me. The difference was too great. But he had to fight. For himself and for Chu Yao. The mystic tortoise shell formed inch by inch on the outside of the dragon scale wall. Lin Muyu had used more than 80% of his Jin Qi as a defensive power. He had no intention of defeating his opponent by attacking. The person in front of him had increased his strength rapidly, causing him to feel suffocated. This was a peerless expert that he had never met before, other than Chu Chu. After Feng Jixing channeled his ferocious Douqi into his broadsword, he immediately advanced, his figure faintly discernible as he chopped down with his sword. However, he hadn't expected that the kid before him would easily dodge it with a flash. Moreover, the kid's footsteps were simply like a falling star, and he didn't hesitate in the slightest. He turned around and slashed with the blade. Pang! The power surged out. Lin Muyu's body trembled. The outer black tortoise shell was instantly shattered. His heart turned cold. This person's speed was too fast, so fast that even falling star steps couldn't dodge it completely. Also, the power of the broadsword was so fierce that one strike shattered the black tortoise shell. Pang pang. Another 2 attacks. Feng Jixing's broadsword fell directly on the dragon scale wall. Lin Muyu's qi and blood surged, and the dragon scale wall began to collapse. The opponent's next attack would definitely kill him, so he had to fight back. Entangle. Stepping on the ground, a gourd vine quickly rose up and wrapped around Feng Jixing's legs. What is this? Feng Jixing was stunned for a moment. After which, a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Both of his legs exerted force and he rose from the ground. The biting cold Douqi quickly shattered the gourd vines. However, when he lowered his head, he discovered that a gourd flower was facing him. A feeling of uneasiness immediately rose from the bottom of his heart. He hurriedly brandished the long blade and shouted, "Blade dance!" The blade danced quickly, bringing with it a strong wind. It actually stirred up all the poisonous liquid. That was not the end. A sharp whistle sounded in his ears. Feng Jixing's heart turned cold again. How many ultimate moves does this stinking brat have? He suddenly turned around and slashed with his broadsword. Kang! His arm actually felt a little numb. The demonic noise blade was slashed away by his broadsword. His body also suddenly fell down due to gravity. With a swing of his broadsword, he heavily slashed at Lin Muyu's shoulder. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and brazenly raised his left hand. He threw a demonic noise fist through the air. Pang! The true chi of the demonic noise fist surged out. Feng Jixing only felt a sense of suffocation in his chest. However, this kind of attack obviously could not hurt his body that had been tempered 1,000 times. Dang! The broadsword collided with the burning prairie sword. Immediately, Lin Muyu's true chi completely dissipated. He spat out a mouthful of blood and retreated a few steps. This time, he had lost. Moreover, it was a complete defeat. Feng Jixing's strength was completely overwhelming. He simply did not have the slightest chance. Moreover, Lin Muyu had actually seen that Feng Jixing had not released his martial soul from the beginning to the end. If he had summoned his martial soul to assist him in battle, he was afraid that he would have already been defeated in a single move. Hua! Chu Yao quickly moved forward and spread her arms in front of Lin Muyu. There was no fear in her eyes as she said, "Feng Jixing, if you want to kill you, then kill me first." However, a scene that she and Lin Muyu did not expect happened. Feng Jixing raised his sword and sheathed it. A very bright smile bloomed on his face. "I, Feng Jixing, am the commander of the capital's 30,000 imperial guards. I am one of the 7 white-robed imperial guards. I am known as a man who swears to defend justice. Why would I kill the innocent? Moreover, Chu Yao, you are brother Chu Huayin's biological sister. If I really kill you, it would be strange if that brat doesn't come after me." Chu Yao was dumbfounded. "This? How do you know my brother?" Feng Jixing laughed. "Chu Huayin is now one of the 200 imperial guards. He is also one of the top cultivators among them. How could I not know him? He is diligent in his cultivation and has never sent letters to his family. Moreover, he is now in the imperial palace. I'm afraid he doesn't know that something has happened to you. Otherwise, with his personality, he would be burning with anxiety." As he spoke, Feng Jixing gazed at Lin Muyu and said, Your strength really isn't bad. It's simply like a miracle that you possess such a cultivation at your age. It's all thanks to you that Chu Yao was able to make it to Lanyan City alive." Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said gratefully, "Thank you, brother Feng, for not killing me." Feng Jixing laughed heartily. "Even if you call me brother Feng, I can't kill you. I can't kill a future talent of the empire." Lin Muyu wanted to say something more, but Feng Jixing seemed to know everything. He said, "Say no more. I will send someone to bring you to the capital and arrange everything. As for Silver Fir City, I have already sent a friend to investigate Hua Tian's murder 3 days ago. Everything will come to light and your innocence will be cleared." Lin Muyu was truly grateful this time. She nodded and said, "Thank you, brother Feng." Feng Jixing looked around and said, "This is not a place to stay. Hurry up and leave. Someone, bring them back to the capital. Let them stay at White Cloud Tavern. Treat them well and don't let them suffer anymore. I will go find them when I return to the capital." "Yes." The Imperial Guard General nodded and said to Lin Muyu, "Young hero, please follow me. We will take the small path back to the capital." "All right." After Lin Muyu and the rest left, Feng Jixing pulled out his battle sword and split open the umbrella dragon's head. He found a bloody spirit stone and smiled. With you around, I can answer to Her Highness Yin. Sigh, you is really something. Of all the spirit beasts he could have snatched, he had to snatch Her Highness Yin's. If Her Highness finds out the truth, you will suffer. He shook his head helplessly and put the spirit stone into his robes. He said slowly, Chu Huaying, you little brat, you owe me a favor again. It's time for you to treat me to a drink again. This time, I want to drink the most expensive wine in the capital. Humph, it's your fault for pretending to be drunk last time. You're tuning in to the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.